5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Right now at Wendy's, try their brand new fries for yourself. Made with real natural cut potatoes and guaranteed to be hot and crispy every time, these fries aren't an afterthought. They're fries you won't forget at participating U.S. Wendy's.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Touchdown! Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back, Justin Kinner. Welcome back. I guess we are back after yesterday. And look, the cameras are froze for those watching live on Facebook, so you'll have to be patient with us as we kind of get that.
Don't worry, I still have on the same clothes as yesterday.
Oh, so maybe that was you then.
No,
my face broke this camera, so there you go. Hey, remember I said yesterday, I don't want to spend a lot of time in Urban Meyer. We got a lot of that stuff out yesterday, but the media's obsession with this Urban Meyer thing, just continuing to try to just push it. Everything that's going on in the NFL today. You had one of the awesome. You don't say this often. What a Thursday night football game last night. Mm-hmm. That game should be the highlight of the NFL right now. The Browns-Raiders news and the COVID issues within the NFL. That should be the talking point. Go to ESPN.com, and it's inside Urban Meyer's disastrous tenure as Jaguars coach. Like, enough, guys. We get it. You hate Urban Meyer. Jesus, criminy. Like, I'm not like a big pro Urban Meyer guy. I'm not really defending him one way or another, but like there's a point where I'm saying I agree with him being fired. I agree with everything that he did that was wrong. But I can also say that, hey, enough, guys. Like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Like, your obsession with running this guy's face and name through the mud, like the enjoyment that they're getting is just absurd to me, especially with everything going on. It's not like it's not July. It's not the last week in July, and we're just looking for something to put on the website. It's ridiculous. But happy Friday. The show's always a little bit looser on a Friday, and I always enjoy that. So we're off and rolling. I hope everyone's having a great day, has big plans for the weekend. The day kind of flew by. I'm excited. Got some plans for the weekend. Going to catch up with some friends and family and all that fun stuff coming up. NFL, interesting. So I want to open up with this. The Las Vegas Raiders, they tried to put a stop to the Browns' request to push back their Saturday afternoon football game, which for one, like the NFL, it was Monday night and Sundays. That was the NFL. And then they had Thursday night football. Then you have these Saturday games, and it's like, NFL, like it's traditionally Sunday with your Monday night football game. That's all you need. But the NFL, because they're obsessed with money, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm open to multiple days throughout the week with football games. It's fine by me. But your traditional days of playing football are Sunday and Monday. The Browns supposed to have a game tomorrow. That game has now been pushed to Monday night, and the Raiders had a problem with that. The Browns have 20 starters. Or 20 players, the majority of them starters, on the COVID exempt list. So the Browns would be without 20 of their star players to play tomorrow. This isn't, oh man, we have 3 wide receivers out and a punter. This isn't, oh, our running back caught it, but everyone else is fine. And this isn't Baker and Keenum out, and they unfortunately have to go get a third-string quarterback to start a game for them. This is 20 vaccinated players who tested positive, who are not available to play tomorrow. The game between the Raiders and the Browns has been pushed back. I had tweeted this out a little bit ago, where I, basically retweeted this with my comment on it. Real frustrated that when I read this note from Jeremy Fowler with ESPN, this came out just about an hour ago, that said the Las Vegas Raiders have been made aware that the league is discussing. At this time, it had not been ruled final yet, but about an hour ago, Jeremy Fowler tweeted that the Las Vegas Raiders were just made aware that the league is discussing a potential scheduling change with the Browns game. Las Vegas has been fighting it, believing that protocols over the summer were clear, that the teams with outbreaks had to forfeit. It's interesting you say that they were clear. They were very clear. They were clear for those teams who had outbreaks amongst the unvaccinated. If your team has an outbreak due to a high percentage of unvaccinated players, because at that time in the summer, it was, well, we got this vaccine. This vaccine is going to keep a lot of people from getting this. So if there is an outbreak, it's because of you unvaccinated folks. And that's why that rule was put into place, to help pressure those unvaccinated players to get vaccinated to avoid this situation. If you want to rip the NFL and say, this is what you get for trying to guilt everyone into getting this vaccine, now they do, and you still find yourself in the same situation as a year ago without the vaccine, that's fine. You can have that I told you so moment. That has nothing to do with this. But that rule was put in place. The forfeiture rule was put in place for teams who had an unvaccinated issue. All 20 of the players on the Browns COVID list, all vaccinated, including the coaches. There's 20 players plus Stefanski, all vaccinated. Most of those guys all have their second, third boosters. So, again, I'm not here to have the talk about whether you should get vaccinated or not. I'm not here to hear. I don't want to spend these next 3 hours hearing from people about, see, I told you they shouldn't have poked themselves with that damn needle. I tell you what, I told them it was all a scam. It's just a needle from Russia, a little chip from Russia, so they can track where we're going all over the place. I tell you what, I can't even go to the bathroom without the Russians knowing that I'm going to take number 2. Like, that's all you guys. I don't want to hear any of that today. All right, this isn't King of the Hill. All right, this is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We're talking about the NFL. The Raiders are sitting here, Kev, trying to throw that rule into the face of the Browns, that it was clear. Yes, it was clear for unvaccinated situations. What the NFL did not account for was that there would be outbreaks on teams with fully vaccinated players. And keep in mind, this isn't, like I said, Baker vaccinated, Keenan vaccinated. Those two both get it. Okay, fine. We're not pushing for the game to be 20 players, your head coach. And every day, it's been every day there's been multiple names added to that list. This isn't like, there was 20 names added on the list last Tuesday and there's been no new guys since then. No, today, 2 new names on the list. So here's the problem I have. Okay, and the Browns and Raiders game has been rescheduled for Monday at 5 p.m. Okay, so that's a great thing. That's not.
We'll be on the air as an NFL game is on.
Oh no, you will be. I'm taking off to watch the team. But no, and also so that's a good thing that it was moved. But like, if the Browns would have had to have played, okay, on Saturday, here's the starters they would have had. Kev, on offense, they would have had 1, 2, 3. They would have only had 4 original starters out there. Everyone else was out because of COVID. They would have had Treader, Bitonio, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Nick Chubb. That's it. Every other player is on the COVID list. On the defensive side, you would have 4 starters there. You would only have 8 starters, 4 on each side of the ball. You would have Miles and Clowney, Ward, and so at the end of the day, those are still good names, but come on. Like, we're talking about 20 names here. So the problem I have with this, the game got moved. I'm happy about that. If the game wouldn't have been moved, I would have been annoyed. You wouldn't hear me screaming, though, because it's unfortunate, but whatever. The NFL is going to do whatever it wants. Here's the problem I have. The Browns and Raiders are opponents. We're supposed to be opponents tomorrow. They're going to now be opponents to one another on Monday. But the NFL as a whole is a team right now. The Raiders should not have been trying to shut this down, Kev. The Raiders are in a playoff push as well. The Raiders should have been with the Browns uniting on this, saying, hey, this isn't right. The Bengals fans chirping at me all day. Oh, your team's whining and crying. Baker's going to get his way, this and that. You shouldn't be making fun of this situation. You have the same exact record. You're actually behind the Browns in the standings, just to throw that out there. You could find yourself in this situation a week from now. So you got to be careful about saying, oh, the Browns they're getting their way. They're crying. This isn't right. This isn't fair. One Bengals fan said, so as a Bengals fan, how is this fair to me and my team who, now they're going to make special arrangements for the Browns? No, that's not fair. We have guys out because of injuries. Maybe we should move our game. I said, yes, because a global pandemic is the same as a, bent pinky or a sore hamstring. Yeah, because that's the same thing. So But that's the thing. Bengals and Browns fans, we should unite on this. We should all agree that this was a good thing that the game was moved. Because although you don't have an outbreak right now, you very well could a week from now. The Browns had a big win this past weekend. The Browns were able to beat the division-leading Ravens, right? They were celebrating. They had turned their attention to the Raiders. They have the Packers coming up. They moved up in the standings. They're second place in the AFC North. This is all great. 24 hours after beating the Ravens, an outbreak occurs. So the Bengals, you're feeling sorry for yourself after that loss to the Niners. You have a chance to get a big win this weekend. Celebrate a big win this weekend. Guess what happens? Outbreak on Monday. Are you going to be screaming for the league to, oh no, force us to play with our third string and practice squad guys? Force us to play even with 20 guys out. No, you would be screaming for the same thing. This is why I'm getting annoyed with NFL fans across the board. We should all be calling for the same thing. If it was the Bengals in this situation, I would be clamoring for them getting that game moved. Because I don't want to watch a bad Bengals team. I want to watch that as healthy of a Bengals team as possible, compete for a playoff spot to set up that big one for the Browns in the final week. So, Kev, I don't know your thoughts on all this, which is why I'm about to hand it off to you, but I'm not. If the NFL would have made the Browns and Raiders play tomorrow, I would have been like, okay, whatever. That stinks. It's the hand you're dealt during these unfortunate times. There's worse things happening to us everyday common folk due to this virus, and I don't think that the worst thing in the world is, oh, my team has to play with practice squad guys. There's worse things that could be happening to me due to this virus. That's not one of them. So I'd have been annoyed, but I wanted to lose sleep over it. What I'm annoyed with is how divisive the teams are being now. The Raiders trying to block that. No, we should play. Well, Raiders, if you were in the same situation, would you be saying, no, we should be forced to play with 20 of our guys out? No, you would be saying the same thing. I think teams should be uniting right now, fighting the NFL. I thought Baker was a leader yesterday, actually, because it's one thing to have fans and to be bickering internally, but I think that tweet helped. That really did put all the attention on the NFL level. You got players calling you out. You have you have to respond. You have to do something. And something happened. I'm not saying it's because of Baker Mayfield, but I do think that played a big role in pressuring not just the league, but pressuring the Browns organization to step in, to start voicing their displeasure as well. This has been a mess from the get-go, but the fact that the Raiders tried to block this, that's the problem I have.
The Raiders organization wants to block it because they want to get an easy win. Be it if they played the game, they're playing the Browns with a lesser team, or a forfeit, they get the win. Because them at 6-7, they're still in the playoff hunt. So the organization as a whole, they want the forfeit because they want the win. Now, the players, I haven't heard anybody from the Raiders come out, like a player say anything or anything like that. But as far as the league is concerned, I am blown away that is pushed back because they didn't give themselves any bumper room for the Super Bowl. You remember last year they had the venue booked for 2 straight weekends. Mm-hmm. So just in case they had to move things back or rearrange things, they didn't do that this year. So now what you have done, NFL, which I'm cool with, I was even clamoring for a delay of the Steelers and Browns playoff game because Coach Stefanski came down with COVID and everything like that. But what you're going to do now is you're going to be postponing more games because if I'm a Los Angeles Rams player or work for them, I'm saying, well, our game is going to be postponed too, right? Because, okay, the Browns have 25 guys. We have 20. What's the threshold? Where's the cutoff and everything like that? So not saying it's a bad thing, but this is going to start the domino effect of more cancellations. And then we're going to have a situation like we did last year where the Ravens played on Saturday and then on Tuesday and then on Sunday. Like they play like 3 games in 15 days. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cool with the postponement of games, but what the NFL is lacking to do as a whole is to have foresight to say, okay, all right, yeah, we got a
Rams game's postponed.
Oh, well, voila.
But I think the reason, finish your point, but the Browns, the reason that they were the first game announced to be moved is because
this is a Saturday.
The Raiders.
And they got to get on a plane.
Yeah, the Raiders are about to leave at 2, and that's why they had to get that. Like, that was their main priority of that game, and then they turned their attention to the Rams game. But yes, so that one's postponed as well. But yes, you're right.
So that starts the domino effect. And not only that domino effect with the Browns, because the NFL just had to have games on Saturdays. Like, oh, the end of the college football season. All right, we're gonna put some games on Saturdays now too. So now you got the Browns playing on Monday because their game was supposed to be on Saturday, and then they were going to play on Sunday, Christmas Day versus Green Bay. But now that this COVID outbreak has happened, and now you have to push this game back, the Browns play on Monday and then got to turn around and play on Christmas Day, which is on a Saturday as well. So this is the domino effect. This is the domino effect. And this is what I always talk about with foresight. And I know it's a pandemic and everything is, up in the air constantly. But that's why last year you had bumpers. And they were so gung-ho on adding this extra game this season, no matter if it's a pandemic or not. We're going with full steam ahead, full stadiums, all this type of stuff. This isn't on the Browns or any of the franchises, because for the most part, most players have done what they've been asked. They've got the vaccine. They wear a mask outside of, Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Even the unvaccinated players like Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz, they wear masks on the sidelines because they're not vaccinated. They wear masks during their press conferences and everything like that. The players are doing what they're asked to do. The coaches are going above and beyond what they're asked to do. Every single coach, because they're an employee of the NFL, they are vaccinated. The players have an option to or not, but all the coaches are. The league itself did not have foresight to say, well, what if this happens? Because all this information is out there saying like, okay, it seems like this virus spikes when the weather turns. But what did they do? They didn't do anything. They didn't set any bumpers into effect. They just acted like this was a normal everyday situation and kept things going. So now you have a postponement of this game. Now you got the postponement of the Rams game, and it's going to cause friction towards the back end of the season because of rest. We see how sloppy Thursday night football games are because they play a game on Sunday and then they turn around and try to play a game on Thursday. What you think is going to happen when you play a game on Monday and then try to turn around and play a game on Saturday?
They also put a lot of bad teams on Thursday night football, so it also blows up the sloppiness. Yes, you're right about the lack of time, the less time to prepare, but then you put bad teams with less time to prepare, it even looks worse. But yes,
So and then and I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's a pandemic. It's a virus. It's out there. It's nobody's fault. But what I would like to see from the league is a little bit more foresight to say, like, all right, let's put in some measures just in case this happens or that happens. And there was none of that. And we're literally down to the absolute deadline. Like, they were about to get on a plane to fly to Cleveland before they said, all right, let's go ahead and postpone it. Like, they were like, this could have been taken care of earlier in the week. This decision could have been made earlier, and all the things they were doing with the testing, not testing. All right, we're going to test y'all after practice, but normally we test before practice. The players union's been up the NFL about like, we probably should be testing daily. And NFL's like, nah, we're good, because they know if you test more, then you're going to find more positive cases. They really want to have these games on TV. And like I said before I started blabbering, I'm blown away that they're actually postponing this game. I'm glad they are. I mean, not only for safety, but it's like, all right, man, get these dudes a fair shot. This isn't an injury. This isn't like, oh man, he sprained an ankle. Oh, he's got a concussion. Like, that's part of the game. This is not part of the game. This is out of the ordinary. So give them a fair shot, a fighting chance. It's like, all right, we're going to delay it a couple of days to see how many guys you can get back. I know eventually they're probably going to have to play the game, and for us to think like, oh man, all 20 something guys are going to come off the COVID list and be ready to play is highly unlikely, but a fair shot is probably all that the Browns are really asking for. And as a football fan, that's what you should all want. Like, all right, man, let's make this as even as possible for them to go out there and play a football game. Because let's be clear, man, Saturday, people are going to go do shopping. They're going to do their running around, and then they're going to come home, plop down on the couch, and try to watch some football. And would you want to watch a good football game or a terrible football game? A good football game, right?
Cleveland Browns and the Cleveland Browns and the Raiders will play Monday night, or Monday evening, I should say, at 5 p.m. And then the Seahawks and the Rams game has been postponed until Tuesday, December 21st, 7 p.m. kickoff on Fox. You will also see the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be a 7 p.m. kickoff on Fox as well. That doesn't make any sense. Both games on Fox, but I'm assuming one will be on FS1 and others. But that's kind of where we're at right now. 518-1410, 518-1410. We are live on Facebook and YouTube as well. The cameras are down momentarily. We'll get that addressed during our next stoppage in the show, of course. But for right now, you could still listen to the show there. And we are still reading your messages in the chat boards, in the chat section. So we will bring those in. Jason Pruitt says, I agree, Kev. You know, I don't know what, I mean, so he agrees with you. He agrees with everything you've said.
Hey, look at me.
Beginning. So, I mean, I've never gotten one of those. I always see, I agree, Kev. I never get one of those. Jealousy. That's what it is. Lots of jealousy here on this side of the desk. You know, so the Rams game, I'm going on to continue to read these. Will on Facebook says, how much will 48 hours help? Delay again till Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, keep in mind the Browns had back-to-back Saturday games. But on top of that, it's the fact that, you know, right now they changed that rule yesterday. They made it official yesterday that now, there's not going to be testing as much now. And that's here's the other golden thing, the silver lining, if the Browns can salvage, if they can win one of their next two just to keep on track here, they'll be okay, because everyone that's tested positive, you don't have to be tested for the next 90 days.
Right.
So like Nick Chubb, who missed games earlier in the season after testing positive, he won't be tested the rest of the season. So the weird, creepy thing is he could potentially have it. And he could be the one potentially passing it all around. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? But the point is there's a silver lining here as far as that's concerned, if they can navigate through this. So how much will 48 hours actually help? Delay again until Tuesday or Wednesday. It's going to give them more time. They just have to provide one negative test. The second, I mean, everyone that's tested positive, being retested, they test negative, boom. Go out there as long as you're asymptomatic and not obviously hacking and coughing and struggling to breathe, of course, because that is part of this. So, look, at the end of the day, it's a situation where I think that everyone's like, well, why are the Browns, so aggressive on this, pushing to delay it and then having to play the Packers with such a quick turnaround? I think that the Browns, and I'm not saying that they don't expect to beat Green Bay. I'm a Browns fan. If they beat Green Bay, I'm going to be ecstatic. But at the same time, I think that everyone that looks at the schedule and says, I could see them winning this game, I could see them winning this game, I could see them losing that game. Let's be honest. The Packers game is a game that you could circle as a loss and know it ahead of time heading in. If they lose, it's not going to be surprising. But if they win, my gosh, you're going to do the jump for joy, right? Mm-hmm. I think you look at the Packers game of, okay, that game's going to be tough for us to win, even if we didn't have COVID issues. This Raiders game, we were a 6.5-point favorite. They're playing horrible. We should beat the Raiders. This game's important. You can't, after getting that big win over the Ravens last week, you can't lose to the Ravens with your practice squad, or lose to the Raiders with your practice squad, and then get healthy and then go face a very, very good, arguably the best team in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers. Now you've lost back-to-back and all the momentum you've gained. I think that's why they are fighting so hard to get this Raiders game in, is because they desperately need this Raiders win. That would put them at 8-7, right? That would put them at 8-7, and then it would put them in a position that if they lose to the Packers, that's fine. They're 8-9 or whatever, 8-8, and then that sets up the final couple week stretch as they have the Steelers and the Bengals. I think I got the records all mixed up. That would put them at 8-6, and then 8-7 with the loss, and then of course you would have two more with the Steelers and the Bengals to close out. That's why I think it's so important to get this Raiders game in and to try to give them time to get as many of these starters back as possible. This is a winnable Raiders game. They have to win this Raiders game. They have to beat the Packers too, but I think if you look at the next 2 weeks, you're more likely to beat the Raiders than the Packers. So why risk losing? If you could fight it, I don't want to risk losing to the Raiders with our practice squad, get guys back, and then lose to the Packers, and now you've lost everything that you've been able to build over the last couple of weeks.
Check this out. So now that the schedule's been changed, we got one game Saturday, 10 games on Sunday, 2 games on Monday, and 2 games on Tuesday. And that's just that's week 15. That's week 15. And then week 16, we got games on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday again. No Tuesday games as of now.
518-1410. All right, Kev, who's on line 2?
Rick,
how are you, sir? Welcome.
Hey, Kev, Justin, how you doing today?
Good. You?
I'm doing good. I have a little different take on the COVID situation with the NFL.
Okay.
Since the majority of the players have been vaccinated, and a lot of these guys that are testing are asymptomatic, I say just let them play. In the past, somebody had the flu years ago. As long as they felt like playing, they played. It didn't matter if they spread the flu a little bit around amongst other players, other teammates, whatever. I don't really see the big deal anymore. It's not like it was when it first came out before vaccination. Everybody's in ICU. There's all these deaths and all that. It's just like the regular flu anymore, so just let them play.
But it's not, and I don't want to get into this argument on the side of that. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, like, the NFL still have to be cognizant of the fact that it is a global pandemic, that there are repercussions if they don't approach this the right way. If they don't have these protocols in place and a player does pass away from this virus, they are going to be open to so many lawsuits. They have to be able to put these protocols in place to protect themselves legally. Look, I don't believe that the league is doing this because they care about the safety of the players. It took the Browns and the players to literally put the pressure on the league to move this game. If this was about the safety of the players, if they truly cared, they would not have waited to the last second to move this game. But they have to have these protocols in place. I understand where you're coming from. I don't want to get into the debate about the severity of this. I do think, though, that, my fiance is a coworker that she's best friends with that is, right now battling for her life with this thing. And I don't think that, she would appreciate being told that it's just the flu by any means. So I know what you're saying, but at the same time, it's not just the flu, and the league has to be careful with how they approach that.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. Thanks a lot.
Take care. I don't think that's what he was looking for, but I'm just saying, I get it. And I don't want to get back. I'm having flashbacks to middle of 2020 when everything was it's just the flu. It's just the flu. Kev, me and you aren't going to change anyone's mind on this thing. And I don't want to get into that debate right now. I just don't. Because no matter even if we did get into that debate, I'm not changing your mind. And you're not going to change mine and Kev's. So I don't want to get into a heated debate with people about that. If you guys, I hope you guys understand that. I don't want to get into a I'm in a great mood today. It's a Friday. I got Christmas stuff going on this week. I'm just in a good mood. I love Christmas, and I don't want to let this get me down. But from a sports side of things, whether you take the virus serious or not, you have to understand that these protocols are put in place for a reason, and that reason is to protect themselves legally. Roger Goodell doesn't care if these guys get COVID or not. He doesn't. But he does care that if a player gets COVID and passes away, he cares about how liable he is in that situation, and that is exactly why these protocols are put in place. I don't want to get into the moral debates about this virus. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to remind people that vaccines don't prevent you from getting it. A flu shot doesn't prevent you from getting the flu. A condom does not guarantee that you won't knock her up. All right, it's that simple. It's really not that hard to understand. I'm amazed that every time I get on social media, I thought if you get the vaccine, you can't get it. Well, you thought wrong, because it's frustrating. I'm tired of those arguments. We've been doing that for well over 2 years now, almost 2 years. I'm over it. So it doesn't matter. Your opinion on that technically doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the rules are you test positive, you're out. You get up to 20, that's a little too high of a number amongst vaccinated. If you're unvaccinated and this is happening, I wouldn't feel bad for the Browns. I'd be like, this is your fault. Should have got vaccinated. It would have helped prevent this outbreak from happening. Wouldn't have prevented it 100%, but you wouldn't see 20 people. But clearly, even with the vaccine, 20 people are getting this. So this is completely uncharted territory. You talked about the league kind of taking their foot off the gas a little as far as the preventative measures that they took. You got to understand the context. The league's still responsible for thinking big picture and planning for this type of stuff. I think that they were irresponsible there. But at the time that we were prepping coming into the league, last year they had to be over cautious because there was no vaccine or is just rolling out towards the tail end of the season and still a lot of unknowns. Remember at the beginning of the year, it was tough to even find a place that had them. It was, being kind of brought out and distributed slowly. Mm-hmm. Right now it's call up, get it. Or, or make fun of the people who get it. And then we'll make fun of the people who don't get it. And then, of course, Christmas is going to be great this year. The point is at that time when the league was making the protocols for this year, the numbers were dropping drastically. Okay. Deaths were dropping drastically. The vaccines were rolling out in droves. And so it's okay, we're good. It's flatlining. It's below flatline. Numbers are dropping. Deaths are dropping. The vaccines are being distributed left and right. We put these mandates in place that, hey, can't force you to get that needle. But if you don't, you are a liability to your team because you're going to miss 2 weeks. You're going to be put in that 10-day isolation period if you're unvaccinated to get it, and you're not going to be able to be there for your team. And that's where they were trying to guilt players.
Right.
This is the unfortunate part of that, though. I was on the fence of whether that was the right move. I thought it was kind of not funny. That's not a good word to use in this context, but I did laugh at the league basically saying, hey, that's fine. We can't make you do it, but we're going to make you really uncomfortable if you don't. It worked. Look at the vaccination rate across the league. It's well over 95%, but that's what this is doing more harm than anything, because the perception of the vaccine is get it to help prevent these outbreaks. This is damning to the NFL. It's damning to the perception of this virus. That's why I'm not going to get into it with that last caller. How can I tell that last caller that this vaccine is important when you just had 20 vaccinated players all spread it amongst one another? It is hard to take a stance on this one way or another because people are dying for this. So you can't say it's just the flu, but at the same time, I can't tell you, got to get this vaccine. It's so damn important. It works, because now we're starting to see this variant take over at a much different rate amongst the vaccinated. And that's the unfortunate part about the perception of this. It's way more divisive now, and it's only going to get worse.
Absolutely. Like you said, Christmas is going to be awesome. People going to go home, have a blast with the family. And then what's right after Christmas? New Year's Eve. So, rolling into 2022 is going to be awesome. So, just not to be vax talk heavy, but, one of the other things that could help a little bit, like bring the mask mandates back. Like, we go all around different places and doing different events and everything like that. And nobody's wearing a mask anymore. And this whole situation, we got to be unified. And like you were talking about the teams being unified or about postponing the game and having everything, like we got at the very least, people need to mask up, but just in case, not only to protect others, but protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you feel uncomfortable getting the jab or whatever, at least wear a mask at the very least. But, people are stubborn. And people are going to put their foot down about what they believe and this, that, and the third and everything like that. So this is where we're at, because the NFL isn't the only sports league that's dealing with this. We talked about this yesterday about what's going on in the NBA. Like every time, if you think that Adam Schefter's phone or Twitter timeline is jumping, go and take a look at Woj. His is jumping just as much with NBA guys. And I'm not sure who's the Twitter guy for the NHL. His is jumping as well. You know what I mean? So it's out here. Like you thought it was gone? No, back. But big back. But in the eyes of most, it's not back because they don't believe in it. Oh man, they believe in the guy coming down the chimney to put presents around the tree. No, but in all seriousness, at this point, like, good luck trying to tell people to wear a mask now. No, you got to wear a mask at work. So, like, the vaccine was supposed to slow down the spread. Now you have 20 vaccinated players spreading this at a massive rate. It's going to make this, more difficult. Dean McDonald said, in all fairness, they didn't change the rules for the Broncos or Raiders last year. Dean, people are not, you got to understand the context of this. The Raiders, there was rules last year. The Raiders violated rules. They were not supposed to, remember, there was a lot more stricter rules last year as far as being out and about in public. Like you were supposed to be isolated. You were not supposed to be around other position group players. Like they was trying to keep everyone separate. And then they were caught going out to parties together. That's why. So that's why they didn't make an exception for them. The Broncos, the same thing. Also keep in mind this year, we're talking about vaccinated. The Browns are vaccinated. The league said at the beginning of the year, get vaccinated, because if you don't and an outbreak occurs, you will have to forfeit. What the NFL did not account for was an outbreak amongst vaccinated players. Right. And the worst case scenario for the NFL has just happened. Actually, the worst case scenario is this happening in the playoffs or, God forbid, the Super Bowl. But this is it's unfortunate. 3 weeks before the playoffs begin, a month before the playoffs begin. NFL, they better be planning, like they're trying to make things happen now for this situation. They better start making plans for the playoffs and Super Bowl. And it's either going to be, if you have symptoms with COVID, you're out. If you test positive and are asymptomatic and you're vaccinated, more power to you. That's where this is heading. Players, if you're comfortable playing in that environment, more power to you, which they probably will. And the players that aren't, give them the opt-out opportunity to get the hell out of here. And that's more than fine too. But we are at the point where we thought we had a lot of information. Now that information's not proving to be as correct with this variant that's passing amongst the vaccinated as well. This is a mess. I have no problem with the NFL pivoting. People are mad that the NFL is pivoting here. You could be mad at the NFL for having to pivot due to not being prepared for this and not
accounting for this, but don't be mad at the NFL for actually pivoting here. You know deep down, Bengals fans, that this was the right thing to do. And I would say the same thing if your team was in this situation. And this is why y'all need to stop talking so much smack about it, because this could be your team in a week, 2 weeks. Let's say you guys close this season out as the number one team in the AFC North, and your playoffs are, you did it. Not only did you make the playoffs, you won the division, and then you have an outbreak. And there's 15 to 20 guys on your team, including Joseph Burrow. Are you going to be sitting there saying, oh, well, we shouldn't be changing the rules? Rules are the rules, remember? Like, that's all I'm saying is, like, I think fans, we don't unite on a lot of things. We don't have to unite on anything because it won't happen. We should unite on this, though. That games should be postponed if they absolutely have to be. I don't know why this is. I was amazed at how many Bengals fans were taking shots at the Browns today. Not just Bengals fans, fans all across the league, Raiders fans too. I'm like, what? This could be your team in a week, and you're taking shots at the Browns over this? They've done nothing wrong. 518-1410. Who's up, Kev?
Dustin.
Dustin, how are you, man?
How you guys doing, gentlemen?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, here, I'm doing good. Hey, here's my thing. I get like the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, those fans, you want that advantage, especially when it's so close to the end of the season and, you have such a tight race. Like, yeah, put the Browns out there without 20 people. I get that. But here's what I don't get. How do the Las Vegas Raiders want a forfeit? To me, that's like, you think that the Browns are going to stomp you or something and you want an easy win. I don't get it and then everybody's mad. It would be different if these were unvaccinated players.
Agreed.
The Browns roster is 99% vaccinated. So they've done everything that the NFL has asked them to do. And you want to punish them because they're having an outbreak? I just don't understand it.
No, I'm with you. Like I said, and the Browns are my team. This isn't me having like a homer approach to this. I swear on a stack of Bibles that if this was the Bengals in this situation, I would be saying the same thing because they're also one of the highest vaccinated rated teams in the league. I'd be saying they do everything right. Every team was not, I hate to use the word, but yeah, guilty. This was done because the league couldn't legally force you to get it, but they were going to make your life uncomfortable if you didn't get it. So they basically used the guilt trip approach to get everyone vaccinated because, hey, that's the only way we're going to make it through this season. Well, now the vaccinated and the booster guys are passing it amongst one another. Why is it fair to punish them for doing what you told them to do? I think just like every other business in America right now and across the world, you got to pivot. And the NFL made the right choice. I hate that it took them so long to do so. But you are absolutely right, Dustin.
Yeah. Last thing here, for the Raiders to come out and say, we want that forfeit, I hope the Browns beat them by 60 on Monday. Go Browns.
All right. Take care, man. You get a little go Browns at the end. We don't get that often. Today, in this scenario, I'm pro Bengals. I'm pro every team except the Raiders at this point. I just can't believe that the Raiders organization tried to stop this. And that's not like tweets from fans. That was Jeremy Fowler who said that the Raiders are trying to stop this. And I just don't get it. Now, you talk about the Raiders, Kev. I mean, to be fair, though, not fair. I don't care about fair in this situation. The Raiders are 6-7. Mm-hmm. They're fading fast. When they lost Gruden, they played really good football, but that usually happens sometimes when you lose a cancer to locker room. Like, don't be surprised to see the Jaguars play inspired football this week.
Right.
Okay. That happens. You know what I mean? When you lose a coach or, like the Browns, when they lost OBJ, what happened? They blew out the Bengals. Browns are not 30 points better than the Bengals. They were that day, but they're not. I'm worried about this last game coming up here in a few weeks, assuming everyone's healthy. I'm not dumb. Okay. I like to chirp, make fun of them, but at the same time, I know that like they were playing, everyone had a chip on their shoulder. We got to go out and prove that we didn't need OBJ. But then the Browns returned to normal the following week, right? That was the Raiders. They played inspired football after Gruden was out, and now they've kind of come crashing back down to reality a little bit. They're 6-7. They're sitting in 12th in the playoff seeding. Obviously, that they're not in at this point. And a win over the Browns, that would put them right back in the playoff picture. Yep. And a loss to the Browns basically buries them. So That's why, this isn't coming from a moral place of the Raiders. It's that competitive mindset. And I get that. I can relate to that. But sometimes you do have to sprinkle a little bit of common sense in there as well. Because, okay, let's say that the Raiders get this win over, they want to play the Browns really bad tomorrow. Okay, fine, play them. And then when the Browns players who have yet to test positive pass it on to you, and you have an outbreak in a week and you feel good about your 7-7 record, are you going to be Are you not going to try and hold up the league's, forcing you to play a week from now? If you have 20 guys out, no, you'd be bitching and complaining too. So that's how I view it. 518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on 1410 Wing AM. The show brought to you by Ryan Sports Medicine, Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, call Brad Mays today. Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Give him a call, 572-7425, 937-572-7425. Looking to buy or sell, give Brad a call here today. We'll be back in a moment. You can also give us a call, 518-1410. Thoughts on this? NFL fans, Bengals fans, Browns, Cowboys, don't care what fan base you are, college football fans in general. This is a thing that could impact the college football playoff coming up. Bearcat fans, I've been calling, look, the Bearcats are the 2020 Dayton Flyers of college football right now. Remember how unfortunate it was, the way the Flyers season ended in 20? Could we be seeing the same thing for the Bearcats? You fought so hard to get there, even get the playoff game in. I'm not trying to, the fear porn and everything that people like to throw out there, but things are being discussed. Plans are being made. Precautions are being put in place. Limited fans, no fans. Trust me. Not guaranteeing that stuff's going to happen, but to sit there and look at how quickly things are getting out of hand around here, I don't think it's that crazy to consider some of these wild scenarios. 518-1410. Kevin and I will be back in a moment.
Merry Christmas. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities.
stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix.
Putting back a few. And a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
The ONN Daily Podcast. Get a recap of all the day's news from across the state. The ONN Daily Podcast. Listen at onnradio.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts from the Ohio News Network.
Winterfest is on at Lowe's. And with aisles of savings on gifts like appliances, you'll find exactly what you need to make more holiday.
All right, I think we got these cameras figured out. Let's see. Moment of truth. On your mark, it's set. Hey, we are good. We're off and rolling. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. The Cleveland Browns, after having over 20 players on the COVID list that have tested positive, all vaccinated players, by the way, which has led to a lot of controversy amongst the league because the league had a set protocol coming in that if your team has an outbreak due to unvaccinated players, then you either have to play, or if you don't have enough players to field the team, then it's just a forfeit. They would not reschedule. The problem, that the issue with the NFL is that they never had a plan in place for outbreaks amongst 90. I mean, the Browns are 99. I need to go check that. I know that last caller said 99. I'm not saying he's a liar, but I do need to go and check that. The last number I saw was 95. I think it's higher than that. But it doesn't matter. 90, that's a lot. 95 players. And the point is 100% of the players that are on the list right now are all vaccinated. Now, I don't know if they're Antonio Brown vaccinated or if they're actually vaccinated, but, that's a discussion to have, too. A report did come out last week that Antonio Brown may not be the only player. Like, there's no context to it. They didn't say if there's other players that they've come across. But, like, basically where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right.
Athletes, if they go get, like, if he went and got one, you don't think he'd talk to a few of his friends in the league? Like, hey, I got a guy. I got a guy that can hook you up with one. Like, here's the number. Give him a call. I'm sure there's others. I guarantee he's not the only one. I guarantee you it's not the only sport that's happened in.
Right.
Sure, that could be the case here. Lamar Shelley. Look, Lamar, I don't know what to say here to this comment, but the Browns have done right by the vaccinations, but there does appear to be some sort of negligence there as well. 22 is awfully high for any job or setting. I think there's no negligence. The only negligence is that the league didn't have a plan in place for what to do if there was an outbreak amongst a vaccinated team. There can't be negligence when you have a team that there are no restrictions on going home. However, as we get into the month of December, I wish a team would just say, "Hey guys, you're on lockdown. You come to work, because this is your job and it's very important. Come to work." It just can't happen. It won't happen. I know there's legal reasons all over the place. Right. You can't tell these guys. Trust me, if there's anything I've learned over the last 2 years, it's y'all can't tell me what to do. So trust me, I know that they can't be told what to do. But that's the thing. You're right. Nobody in this freaking country can be told what to do. You can't tell workers that you're not allowed to go visit family during the holiday. You can't. Right. I'm not saying that you should be able to, but I'm just saying you can't. So, no, the Browns players who left on the bye week to go catch up with friends, family, and to take advantage of the off time,
right?
That's not negligence. They didn't do anything wrong. Baker Mayfield, his wife, and multiple Browns players were doing a Christmas charity event recently. They did that during Thanksgiving. They were, Myles Garrett, the entire Browns team was giving out turkeys and Thanksgiving meals to families in need in their community. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's so awesome. That's so cute. That's so great." And then, "Oh, negligence. Look at them. They're out just hanging out with all the common folk there. You're just getting diseases and stuff." Stop. Well, there's no negligence here.
Lamar, what do you mean by people are being negligent? I'm not sure. I want a clear definition of what he thinks they're being negligent about. Like you just said, like.
And Lamar, if you met the league, then okay.
I think he's saying the Browns. Yeah, like I don't get it. What are they supposed to do? because they're doing exactly what everybody else in America is doing. They're going to work. Their job just happens to be playing football. They're going to the grocery store. They're doing great community events. And this is a pandemic. Like, you're going to be around people and you're probably going to get it when you're around people. So, like, I don't think that anybody on the team is being negligent and just saying, like, oh, I'm just trying to be out here willy-nilly and going to the club and everything like that. We haven't seen any of that. Like, I know some DJs in Cleveland, they post a ton of where they're spinning and stuff like that. I talked to a couple of them, like, yeah, we don't see the Browns dudes out. We see some of the Cavaliers dudes out because a lot of those dudes are like 20 years old, but, you know, that's to be expected. But what do you mean?
Wright State played at they played at Cleveland State, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And the entire Cavs team was, I would say the entire, but like, you know, all the main guys were there. So they, like, these guys are going out. I mean, but they're not doing anything wrong. Like, I don't want to word it like, oh, they're going out. They're at game. Because they're doing nothing wrong. Yeah. So as long as there's no, I mean, if there's lockdowns and they're being told, hey, only go out if you need to, and yet you're being caught out at other places, that's a problem. Like when Dak Prescott threw that party after the whole world went on lockdown and we're told, you know, this is at the beginning of the pandemic when the fear was at its peak, right? Like, because there were so many unknowns. Don't leave your house. You know, it's very important you stay locked out. And then he's having millionaire parties with all his rich friends like, oh, we're above the law. So that was a problem. Yes. But these guys going about themselves, guys and gals, whoever, whatever industry it is, no one's doing anything wrong.
Yeah, because they're not doing anything the average person isn't doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where I have a problem with people saying like, oh man, they got to be on lockdown. Like, well, are you on lockdown? Are you staying in the house? Or are you going to the mall Christmas shopping? Are you going out to whatever your favorite chicken wing restaurant is on the weekend and having a couple pops with the friends? Like, but only these people have to do it, aka the athletes, so they can be there for your entertainment. Like, no, they're doing exactly what everybody else is doing. It's a pandemic. People are going to catch this thing, unfortunately.
All right, 518-1410. Sean, by the way, says shout out to the Cavs.
Oh yeah,
the team is balling. Like at the beginning, I was like, you know, I'm not gonna bite. I'm not gonna fall for it.
I fell for it last year.
We did, because remember the Cavs and the Nets. They had that early season game, and like Colin Sexton looked like the next big thing in the NBA, right? Like he was taking the league by storm. And then the next thing you know, the Cavs ended up being one of the. I mean, that's how they caught Mobley. That's how they got in the lottery, right? Like they became one of the worst teams in the NBA. But the Cavs, number 4 in the NBA, 18-12. All right. They've won 5 straight. They've won 8 of the last 10. I think this team's legitimate. I mean, it's December. People don't start paying attention till Christmas, but we're a week from that. I think now you could start looking at the Cavs and say, could they slip? Yes. But like, if you actually watch them, they're huge. They're skilled. And this is something we talked about last week. If you can have the LeBron-led, well, no, that's an easy one. Of course, you want the LeBron-led Cavs that have a championship opportunity. I don't know if this team is there yet. Obviously, a tweak or two. This is a dangerous roster because you have pieces that you can move on from to get better pieces to come in, but it's like you don't want to mess with the chemistry. Mm-mm. And it's like, so there's opportunities of, you know, I read one the other day, and I would not want this. Russell Westbrook, the Lakers like saying, okay, Russell Westbrook, we're not going to try and trade star for star, but we need depth. So getting Sexton and Kevin Love over in LA. And I'm like, well, it's good for LA. Right. If I'm and you know, Westbrook, I don't think is terrible. I'd rather get Ben Simmons, but I don't want to give up any of those core pieces. If you can give up, Kevin Love is going to have to be moved on from eventually just because the cap. Pair him with Sexton and maybe get like a Ben Simmons or get somebody. But no, I wouldn't go get Russell Westbrook. But it's a scary thing. Like, I don't think you move anybody this year, honestly. I actually think this year you're not. My point is the Cavs aren't winning a championship this year. I don't care how good they are. They're not going to win a championship this year. So why? Like, you've only played, what are they, 18 and 12, so 30 games. After 30 games, you think that you truly know what this team needs to go to that next level? You don't. Let's see what Mobley does over an 82-game season. Let's see what this team does over an 82-game season. Teams get hot and cold all the time. They can come out of the All-Star break or after the Christmas break and just plummet. Right. So I would rather see this team, I wouldn't make any moves at the deadline unless you can get something for Kevin Love that makes sense long-term. But other than that, I wouldn't make one move the rest of the year. Let this roster play out the rest of the way. And then you have a full 82-game sample size with Mobley being the centerpiece. And now you have an idea heading into the offseason. Okay, we need this. We need more three-point shooting. We need maybe an isolation score. We need this. We need that. Garland's doing everything right now, by the way. I love Garland too. So I think that Cleveland, as we switch gears to the NBA, which we don't talk a lot of, but the Cavaliers are forcing our hand here, I don't think they should make one move. Every time I read an article on the Cavs or see something on SportsCenter or whatever, man, what move could they make? Could they get a Westbrook, Ben Simmons? I don't think Ben Simmons is a bad get, but you'd have to give up a lot to get him. I wouldn't touch this core. Give them 82 games to show what they're capable of. You learn about teams in the playoffs, too. Let's say like the Knicks. We thought the Knicks were for real. I mean, maybe not for real, but we thought they were legitimate. They didn't look legitimate in the playoffs. I mean, they didn't look like a top
legit right
seed.
now.
So that's the thing with Cleveland. Don't assume right now that you have something elite. You may or you may not, and you'll know by the playoffs if how they perform there as well, and even if they get there. So, yeah, your thoughts. Cleveland, I wouldn't make one move. Just enjoy this. Have fun with it. This is the fun part.
Do we have a breaking news sounder?
God, did something happen?
Yeah, something major happened.
Oh.
You and I agree about an NBA topic.
There we go. Folks, have a great weekend. That wraps it up.
That's it, baby. That is it. You're right. I'm not touching this roster. I'm not doing anything. Unless something comes across the wire that's like super crazy. Like, all right, man, y'all go give us Bradley Beal for Kevin Love or something like that. Like, oh, man, we about to get a big-time two-guard to go against with Garland and everything like that. I don't do anything. Like you said, it's way too early. We're excited because, oh, man, thought it was going to be terrible again and totally checked out on the season. But, like, I was watching, I was like, oh, they won. They won again. Wait, they're playing defense. And they're doing what nobody else is doing outside of the Lakers inside the bubble. They're zagging when everybody else is zigging. They're going big lineup. They're out there with Jared Allen. They're out there with Mobley. They're out there with Isaac Okoro. Like all these dudes are tall, but they're play in the paint. They're like, all right. And they play defense. This is something that the team hasn't done since the LeBron years, playing lockdown defense. And yes, it's the regular season and everybody talk about the Knicks playing lockdown defense and everything like that. But you feel the excitement of the Knicks when you're bad for so long and you finally start playing good basketball. There are things to be excited about. So I'm not touching the roster unless we get something blown away. And for me personally, I'm cool on Ben Simmons with the Cavs. I want to go young guys and keep building this culture. Now, I understand that Ricky Rubio is basically a one-year rental, but that's fine. That's fine. He's a very good player. He's a pro player. He's showing Darius Garland different ways to score the ball, different ways to keep everybody else involved in the game. Darius Garland, I'll say this, I was like, get rid of him. Like, I just was like, man, like, I just don't see it. Like, I see it in Colin Sexton. I don't see it with them. Ultimately, one of them dudes is going to have to go, but they don't have to go this year.
Go get Obi.
I'll take that, too.
I wouldn't have said that a year ago because I'm not saying I didn't believe in Obi, but I was like, I don't know who Obi is. Like, I don't want to fall for the trap of he's a Dayton Flyer, so he's the next Michael Jordan. Like, because like too many people around here are like, oh, he's going to be the best player in the league. No, but he's really freaking good. And he's a team guy. And I love, like, what I love about Obi is the fact that no matter how pissed off fans are about him not getting as much playing time, he addresses the media. No, I trust Coach. I love Coach. You know, Coach and I have a good relationship. He doesn't throw anyone under the bus. He's been a stand-up dude since his time here at Dayton. I think he'd be a perfect addition to that. If you have to give up a Rubio, if you have to give up a Sexton, a Kevin Love to New York, do it, because New York will be a team that's looking to add pieces.
Right.
They're clearly not using Obi the way he's supposed to. I think he's missing time right now. I think he's on the COVID list or was on the COVID list, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, you want to talk about adding youth. I agree. Adding Ben Simmons is a veteran that you can get to the addition of veterans at a certain point. I just don't think that they're there yet. So I would love to see Obi in Cleveland. I did not think that a few years ago. This is a weird turnaround. And this doesn't happen in the NBA. This is like an NFL thing. The NBA, you don't see this often. You don't see a team go from really, really bad, add a Ricky Rubio and a draft pick, and all of a sudden be top 4 next year. And it's not fluky either. Like, if you watch them, they are legitimately beating teams, and they're blowing out bad teams, beating good teams, and they're consistent. I never thought we'd be sitting here in December of 21 right now talking NBA basketball in December, Cavaliers basketball on top of that. But here we are. And I'm excited about it. Like, I love this core. Man, I think Obi is a perfect type of player for them to go get. They don't have to break the bank to get him.
Right.
You don't have to give up a crap ton to get him either. You have veteran players that, like you said, they're not going to be long-term. Kevin Love's not long-term here.
Right.
Rubio's not long-term here. And if you have to get weaker at guard to get Toppin over here as a for the rest, then so be it. But the Knicks do need help at point guard right now. Just depth as far as that's concerned. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, they're out here with Evan Fournier playing, but they're trying to get rid of Kemba, and nobody's going to touch that contract. So, and Kemba's not even in the rotation right now for the Knicks. So that's obviously out of the question. Another person that's out of the question for me is Russ. I'm so straight. I'm so straight. Now, people that love the stats and everything like that. Now, I love Russ's hunger and his energy that he brings and everything like that. But in today's NBA, man, I can't have my point guard shooting 20% from three and taking that many threes. Like, I can't have arguably the best player in the NBA and LeBron James when he does play, because he's been banged up and everything like that. I can't have him taking more shots than LeBron James or having the ball more than LeBron James. It just goes back to everything that happened with Russ and KD at OKC. It's like, all right, he's the point guard and he's jacking up the shots when you have a far superior player to your left and you're not giving him the ball. So that, I think that would totally just ruin the Cavaliers. And not saying he's a bad guy or a bad player. I'm just cool. I don't want him on the Cavs. I think the Cavs stay pat unless something blockbuster comes their way. And right now, I don't see any blockbuster trades out there. I mean, it's like you said, it's December. All that talk will start like around All-Star break about, potentially Dame finally having enough out there in Portland. Maybe they can get CJ to come back home. Yes, I wouldn't mind that.
But that's a young up-and-coming guy. Not up-and-coming, he's here.
Yeah.
By the way, the Pacers got to stop doing this thing where they become they're like the Reds of the NBA, where they're everyone else's developmental league, because I mean, between Paul George and Oladipo,
at least they went to the Eastern Conference Finals with PG.
And it's like every year. But that's the thing; they finally get a guy to do that, and then they aren't able to keep him.
Right.
But it's not just that he wasn't going to stay, but they were already planning a rebuild anyways. And he's like, well, if you're not really giving me a reason to want to stay on top of that. So it's strange to me, but like every time LeVert and then that Sabonis dude, like he's legitimate. Like either of those two, I would, if I'm those are great additions because they're not superstars. The Cavs aren't at the acquisition of a superstar level yet.
Right.
And I think that this could be, they're kind of the Jazz and they're kind of Utah of the East right now, where they're like that. Maybe Utah's a little ahead of them for obvious reasons, but I just mean when Utah was starting to come up with Donovan Mitchell and everything, it was that type of thing where you felt like, or was that, no, that's Utah. Sorry. I always get them and Denver mixed up, but it was like, they're exciting. They're fun.
Mitchell and Murray have the exact same game.
Yeah. So
they play exactly the same. I think it's just exciting for the Cavaliers, man. A buddy and I were having this conversation about like this excitement of them playing good basketball versus the LeBron years of the stress factor of, man, we got LeBron, we got to win the championship. What would you rather have more? I was like, well, you got the championship. Like, well, you didn't know that you're going to get the championship, especially being down 3-1. Yeah, the ultimate prize ultimately was better, but I prefer like this excitement that we got right now and the phase one of LeBron being with the Cavs. It was exciting. It was like, man, this is where people want to be. We're on TV, yada, yada, yada. The second term with LeBron, it was nail biting because it was just so much drama involved and everything like that. I don't want that type of drama with the Cavs till later. You know what I'm saying? Like with OKC, like they built it from the ground up and they didn't get drama in their way until later. So I'm cool with how they're playing basketball right now. They're very low expectations and they're over delivering. So I'm cool with that. And Evan Mobley, I asked this question on Twitter. Nobody could find it. And I couldn't find it when I was trying to Google it. Has a rookie ever made first team NBA defense? Because this dude is an animal. He made first team. Okay.
Dwight, but it doesn't happen often. I'm pretty sure there's other sense, but I don't think it happens often.
This dude, look, man, Zach Levine. I know you and I differ about Zach Levine. Zach Levine is one of the highest flying dudes ever in the NBA. If you block a dunk from Zach Levine, you got my attention forever. Like he is not only blocking a ton of shots, he's altering shots at the rim. He's rebounding like crazy. I haven't seen a big man like this play perimeter defense. I know this is a stretch, but like being caught on pick and rolls and everything like that and feeling comfortable with your big man guarding the point guard since like the Kevin Garnett. Like he stays locked down defense. I'm blown away by Evan Mobley. I never watched him play in college. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I never stayed up late enough to watch a USC basketball game when he was in college. This dude is amazing. I was all about one of the Jalen's. I was dead wrong. I'm cool. I'm happy we got Mobley.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was happy about that. Did these cameras miss it? No, the cameras are back off and rolling. Holy moly. That's what I want from Santa this year. New cameras for the studio. Hear that, Santa? Hope you're listening.
Ho, ho, ho.
But no, absolutely. I don't remember that draft. Like, we don't get deep into NBA draft talk like we do NFL stuff, rightfully so. Don't know as much. I mean, as much college basketball as I watch, it's really hard to care about. Like, the bad teams in the NFL, you know that they're a year or two from being contenders. Sometimes when you're a bad team in the NBA, you draft a guy, you're 3 or 4 years away from being contenders. That's what makes this Cavs turnaround so interesting as we currently sit here at the midway point of December. We pause real quick for station identification.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
So that's where we're at now, talking about Cavs basketball as we sit here today. So big news out of the NFL earlier today. Again, the news all week has been, yes, about Urban Meyer and that just absolute, crap storm going on in Jacksonville, at least no longer. But the COVID outbreak amongst the Cleveland Browns, the other team in Cleveland, right? The Cleveland Browns, 20 players on the COVID list, including Kevin Stefanski, who at one point was considered out. I don't know really what the process is going to be, but that game has been postponed to Monday Night Football or Monday early evening football. It'll be the Browns and the Raiders again from Saturday, moved to Monday night, 5 o'clock to kick off. We'll be live here on the air during that time, so that's kind of a weird stretch. But it's exciting that the NFL made that move, because I was just of the idea of like, okay, it stinks if they're being forced to play with all these guys out, but we all have to adapt to doing our jobs differently. Every day, something can happen that would cause it. I mean, if Kev has to miss, 2+ weeks because he catches this, I have to be prepared to do this solo. If something happens to me with COVID and I'm out for 2 weeks, Kevin has to put the solo hat on for a bit. He doesn't know it yet, but I mean, but
all NBA all the time.
But Kev would have to adapt to that.
Yeah.
Kev is more than capable of doing this without me here. And I'm sure a lot of you would like that, right? But like, it would be an adjustment for Kev. Kev would have to do it, but he would have to do it. Like, he would have to do that. The point is that all of our jobs, no matter where you work, COVID has forced all of us to have to be, flexible and always ready to pivot at any given time. And that's the NFL. So my point is there's too many real life issues going on with this virus right now for me to, oh man, this is the worst thing ever. The Browns have to play with 20 guys. It wasn't a big deal to me. It stinks, but it would have been fine. But when I heard, what pissed me off about this was that the Raiders were trying to block the Browns from getting this game moved. That's where I had a problem with it. I have a problem with any team out there that has a problem with the Browns game being postponed, because that means you are clueless on what's going on in this world right now. Whether you believe in this virus or not, whether you take precautions with it or not, you have to be an utter fool to act like the Browns were crazy for asking this game to be postponed. We are talking about 20 vaccinated players on a team that has 95+% vaccination rate catching this virus. You don't think that's a cause for a pause, or at least an opportunity to say, okay, we got to do something here. This isn't okay. The Raiders, shame on them. And when Jason Fitz comes on next week, I'm going to say, I don't know what side of the fence you were on, but I'm going to call him out and say, I'm disappointed in your fan base. But shame on the Raiders fans. Shame on the fan bases of all the other teams out there who actually had an opinion about this that was, oh, the Browns, Baker Mayfield was This is where the hatred for Baker gets on my nerves. Like, you want to hate him and say he's bad as a player, more power to you. But Baker was a leader yesterday. When he called out the NFL, that's what more players should have done that. I'm surprised more players haven't. To me, I respected the hell out of that. I'm not saying Baker's why this game got moved, but I do think that when you had a player, a starting quarterback, come out and voice their displeasure, don't act like that didn't get the attention of the front offices, or at least get enough fan support behind it. But shame on those fan bases for having a problem with this, because just because your team's rolling right now, that could be you in a week. It could be you tomorrow. It could be you this Sunday. You could wake up Sunday morning ready to watch your team play. Boom, a COVID outbreak, you have to play. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be sitting there saying, well, we just got to deal with it, right? No, you would be saying, this isn't fair. They need to move our game. So people need to do better, because that's really what ticked me off. If the Browns had to play tomorrow, so be it. I'd be annoyed, but it is what it is. And I'm not mad or happy that they moved it. That is what it is. I'm mad at the fan bases and the Raiders organization itself, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, for trying to put a block to this game being moved. That's disappointing.
The thing I saw was CJ Treader. He is the president of the Players Union. Yep. And I was reading some of the things he was talking about. I guess it was yesterday after practice and everything like that. So when you have the president of the Players Union and this is happening to his team, that's a bad look. It's a bad look. So you're really about to try to force this team to play with so many people on COVID. Look, man, I don't think people really understand the people that are talking like, oh, man, just forcing to play and everything like that. There's 52, 53 guys on an NFL roster. And if 20 of them are hurt or 20 of them have COVID and everything like that, you're literally calling up guys on the practice squad. But a practice squad isn't like, oh, man, we got 50 dudes over there. Just call them up and replace them. There's a finite amount how many people are on the practice squad. So they were talking about how they were calling up free agents. Like, hey, man, we need one. All right, fly to Cleveland. Sign a contract, you're on the team now. Like, that's insane. This isn't pickup basketball where you just, all right, oh, man, we lost. Hey, we need one. Hey, you, come here. That's not how this works. This is the NFL. This is supposed to be the big time. So you got to give everybody a fair chance to win. Not just get the game over with and collect your advertising dollars and everything like that. You got to give people a fair chance. And I know it's tough. It's a tough decision for the NFL because, you know, you've already collected money for your advertisers. Think about it like this. You're broadcasting this game across the country and everything like that. You got your pregame revenue. You got your game revenue. You got your postgame revenue. All this money is coming in. Not to mention you got your ticket revenue from people coming through the gates. You got revenue coming in from the concession stands. This is a lot of money. And I understand, like, money makes the world go round, no doubt about it. But you can't literally send guys out there to try to play both ways. This ain't the old school days of the 1940s where you play quarterback and then you play safety on defense. Like, it just doesn't work like that. So you talk about player safety, subtract the COVID thing, player safety where, like, all right, man, we don't have any backups. Like, if somebody gets hurt, what are you going to do? Like, hey, I know you were just playing left guard, but we need you to go in at defensive tackle. Like, come on. Like, it just doesn't work like that. You got to have ample bodies to go out there, and not just ample bodies that are in shape, like, and willing to participate, not just for a check. Like, guys that, like, want to be there. Like, so them pushing this back is the right thing to do. We'll see what happens on Monday because I'm sure people are talking about, well, who's to say that everybody won't test positive again on Monday? Like, we're going to see. But you give an opportunity. You give an opportunity to see who comes off the COVID list, if they are safe to play and everything like that, to make sure you're putting on a good product for a lot of people that's paying a lot of money.
New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton, again, test positive for virus.
No more antibodies, I guess.
So, you know, or Aaron Rodgers, what do you say? He's immunized. Apparently that's a shorter window than anticipated. So it is what it is at this point. And the game's moved to Monday. But, you know, here's the thing, too. It doesn't mean the Browns are in the clear. It doesn't mean that, oh, man, they weren't available tomorrow, but they'll be available Monday. You got to understand, of those 20, the Browns will be lucky if 5 of them are back by Monday. But, like, you're hoping that we can maybe get some of your bigger hitters back. If you can get 1 or 2 of your offensive linemen back, if you can, you know, hopefully get, you know, a Kareem Hunt or somebody back, Baker back, Case Keenum at the least. I mean, you need one of those 2 back to at least have a shot. You have Nick Chubb. I'd say you at least need 1 or 2 of your offensive linemen back. You have Nick Chubb already. You need Baker or Keenum back. But this is crucial for the Browns from a playoff perspective, too, because of the fact that you have the Packers coming up. I don't know what the line is for that. I don't feel confident about the Browns' chances against the Packers, mainly because the Browns don't put up enough points. They struggle offensively. Aaron Rodgers puts up points in a hurry. Packers' offense is legitimate. So is the Browns' defense. But again, if the Browns trail and you have to rely on Baker to throw a lot, banged up, limited offensive line, no playmakers around them because of COVID, that's a big deal. So it's one of those things where you need this game against the Raiders. The Raiders is a winnable game. You basically, I'm not saying that the Browns look at the Packers as an automatic loss, but I think that they know that that's going to be a challenging game, healthy or not. And the last thing you want after beating the division-leading Ravens a week ago to go a game above 500 to be second in the division ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals, who are also, fighting for a spot. They have the Broncos coming up, and that's going to be a tough one. The Browns realize how important this Raiders game is. This is a winnable game, even with a lot of these guys out, but they need some of these guys back. Otherwise, this game's just as good as done. The Browns went from a 6.5-point favorite to a 3.5-point dog overnight due to this. Then get some guys back, it could be a different story by Monday. I don't know what to expect, but just because they moved it back, everyone's like, oh, the Browns are being bailed out. You don't know that yet.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, they could still have the same 20 guys out by Monday. I mean, nobody's been officially ruled out, and nobody has been officially ruled back in as far as I'm concerned. But 518-1410, 518-1410. This call is popping up as Adam. Adam, is this you?
Yeah, hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey.
How are you?
Good. No, just thanks for taking my call. I want to make a quick comment since you're on the subject about the NFL. I guess my biggest overall gripe with the NFL is just they take so long and they almost like snail-like on making these decisions. Being the most powerful brand of sports entertainment in this country, you would think they would be okay with trying to get ahead of everything instead of just being reactive, and more often than not they end up reacting to the wrong decision. I just don't see how, especially with what's going on now. Obviously it's a very unique situation with the virus and the different variants and stuff like that, how they don't collaborate with like the NBA, who is more out ahead of stuff than that. They can't collaborate with that and try to come with a better decision. What are your opinions on that, I guess?
I get what you're saying, and I agree that they're being very reactionary as opposed to being proactive. But I don't know what talking to the NBA really would do, because the NBA, as many guys are out in the NBA, there's so many NBA games. And in the NFL, you really only play on Sunday or Monday, and there's only a few. So if there's a cancellation of 3 NBA games on a Tuesday night, guess what? We still got 7 more. And like, all right, well, and there's so much time to fill them up. In the NBA, you got back-to-backs. So that's what they'll do. They're like, all right, once everybody is good, we're going to give you a back-to-back for a makeup date. Like that type of thing happens in baseball with rain delays and things like that. So I think it's easier for the NBA to have makeup games as opposed to the NFL, not to mention the physicality of the NFL. But like my whole thing about the NFL was going into the season, well, where's the buffer? Like, shouldn't we have buffers, especially towards the back end of the season? Because everything
they added the game.
Yeah, they added a game. And everything that they've been talking about for the longest is, well, this virus starts to spike as it gets colder outside. And the NFL decided to add a game. And then not only that, the NFL didn't have a bumper for the Super Bowl or anything like that, like they did last year. So like, I just think these are missed opportunities, and I'm just blown away that they just like because this could save them money in the long run, you would imagine, right? If you built in these bumpers, it had foresight as opposed to saying we're going to stick to our schedule. I think that would just save you money and save you headaches as well, right?
No, I agree. I think you said it best there with the buffer, kind of giving yourself more leeway. And I guess what really I was trying to say is you brought up with the NBA and they're playing more. It was really, I get the point I was trying to make there is just overall collective, like, okay, how do you deal with your overall amount of players, right? Obviously, NFL roster is way bigger than NBA, NHL, even MLB, stuff like that. But just overall, like, okay, who's interacting with these players? Obviously, travel, like, that's a whole nother story. I was like, you pointed all that out previously here too. But they kind of just generally talk about it like, hey, this is how we are seeing this with how we deal with players with here moving to X city to Y city. Obviously, you're going to get more detailed. You have to talk about yourself, but obviously, all these companies can talk to the smartest people in the world. They have that ability. Right. It just seems like they're not helping each other out here. I guess that's you want
more of a collaboration between these big time leagues, because they all have a common goal is to put on a product for fans and make their mony. Who's your team,
right.
Adam?
I'm a Browns fan, so I originally grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Now living here in Dayton, I've moved around before. It's just generally, but being a sports fan and just seeing how different teams. I've lived in multiple cities and just seeing how they operate and all that stuff. It just always seems like the NFL is just fair. They're just like, well, we've done it since since the beginning of time, right? When they started, and they were just like, no, we're gonna do it our way, which is obviously gotten them to the top. But it's almost 2022. Like they have the ability to make their product, I think, even better in this time that we're dealing with the virus. It wouldn't hurt to try to reach out to other contacts that the NBA might have, that the NHL might have, that the NFL has never dealt with because they haven't had to, but it might give them a leg up 2-4 years down the road, because who knows where we go from this point. So I guess that's my...
What do you think about the Browns moving it? Well, the Browns game being moved. Did you want it to be played on Saturday just to just keep the momentum running, that you got to win over the Ravens and everything like that, or you were cool with them postponing it?
No, I wanted them to move it. Like you brought up, though, too, the NFL only has a certain amount of days that they can play based on what they have set up with advertising and TV and all that stuff. But and then you also, in the back end of it, too, is, okay, you want the Browns game moved, but then you can't. Where do you move it to? Because they have to play Christmas Day also.
Right.
So are you going to try to give them like 2 or 3, like a Thursday night bye week, that kind of thing? Like, again, now we're getting super detailed here, where the NFL is in the business and that's how they run their life. You know what I mean? With having players moved around in practice time. And you brought up too, you got to give these guys a chance to win, because at the end of the day, it's all money on the line for the players and these teams and everything like that. So that's why I just think, like you said, at the beginning of the year in the off season, all these teams have this downtime where they're not all playing. You could spend 3-4 days trying to get as much information as you can at the time. Yeah, things change, but try to use all your resources you have at the beginning of the year. And then, like you said, have a buffer somewhere, because you have the ability to move games around. They've shown it in the past couple of years. It seems like they didn't take any good things that happened last year, and going with this year, it's almost like they had their fingers crossed, and hopefully all 17 games work out. So,
all right, man. Hey, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
So the one thing that's frustrating me a bit is that people are not technically really understanding. Like last year's rules and this year's rules were different. There was no vaccine last year for last year's NFL season, not to the very tail end. Like those vaccines didn't start rolling out to the very beginning of this year as we were entering the playoffs.
And those people weren't even eligible. They weren't of age.
And that was, remember the big debate right when the NFL playoffs started was, because remember people started doing the whole, started questioning, should athletes get preferential treatment? Should they get these, should they be getting these vaccines before the general public? And I remember that the NFL and the NBA and some other leagues were saying how that no, absolutely not. That even if the vaccines were made available to the athletes, that they would not take those vaccines for their league before the general public could get them, because they were trying to avoid PR disasters.
Right.
So I just got a message from somebody on Facebook. I'm assuming that they sent this privately because they don't want to get into it on the chat, which is totally fine. But he sent a message in talking about the last year's Denver Bronco game. He goes, regarding this Browns postponement, all I could think about is last year when Denver was forced to play a game with wide receiver as their starting quarterback, their game wasn't moved. But even last year, there were restrictions on, the outcome of those outbreaks were based on how you handled it internally.
Right.
The Broncos had Driscoll and a bunch of quarterbacks last year that were caught all hanging out without masks.
Right.
So the rule last year was, hey, you will get postponed as long as the outbreak on your roster, when it's researched, as long as you did not break any of the COVID protocols, as long as you were not out in the general public, as long as you were not caught without a mask, as long as, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you were, following protocol, if there's an outbreak, you will be postponed. They will find a way to move it. But what the league was not going to do was put up with losing dollars by having to move games that are only happening because players were not responsible during the pandemic at its peak last year, right? Well, the peak's even higher now than last year, but you see my point. So this year, you can't compare the Browns situation to Denver last year, to the guy that sent the private message on Facebook. Again, I'm assuming he sent that privately because he didn't want to get into it. So I'm not going to throw his name out there, but I see what he's saying. Hey, the Broncos, they had to play with their wide receiver at quarterback last year. Well, that was the league's strict way of saying, hey, we're trying to all get through this so that you can make your money and we can make ours. And by you not following the rules, you are putting us in position to lose money and yourself to lose money.
Yeah, it was a punishment, basically.
Yeah. So
if forcing them to go out there and play a game. And
Yep.
Kendall Hinton is his name, that played wide receiver at Wake Forest and ended up playing quarterback in the NFL. Yep. Like, imagine that. You're the practice squad wide receiver, and they're looking around saying, hey, which one of you guys played some quarterback in college? And like, oh, yeah, I did as a freshman. Then I switched to wide receiver. That's why y'all got me here, right? No, we want you to play QB in an NFL game. Huh? I barely even know the plays for the wide receiver. Would you want me to throw the ball?
And he was 1 for 9 with 2 interceptions, and they lost to the Saints. So my point is, to answer that message that was sent, that Denver, I guess, big picture, I don't say deserved it, but I mean, that was their punishment for, hey, this was self-inflicted. You don't have any quarterbacks on your roster because your team violated protocol. You guys were all caught hanging out outside of the facility without masks. So we are not going to postpone your game and lose advertising dollars, lose ticket sales, and lose money because you guys wouldn't follow the rules. So that's why they were forced to play. This year is different. If the Browns were one of the lowest vaccinated rated teams in the league, if the Browns outbreak was found out to be because protocols were being broken and unvaccinated players were at the source of this, then the Browns game would not be postponed. This would be SOL, figure it out, practice players, whoever. Every player's vaccinated. Every player did what was asked of the league. Get vaccinated, get your boosters. Coach Stefanski has his booster. Every player that tested positive has been vaccinated. So no rules have been broken. It's an unfortunate breakout. That is why the Browns game had been postponed. And I get tired of people saying, well, if it was the Patriots or if it was the Buccaneers and Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they definitely would have moved it sooner. Can we stop with that? That is not true. That's not accurate at all. The Packers a few weeks ago about a month and a half ago. Remember, they had no wide receivers.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers had none of his wide receivers, had a few offensive linemen and key pieces on the defense, all out with COVID.
Rolled them out there on a Thursday.
And they won. Now, okay, so it's just one of those things where, no, that's not true. They made them play that night. They didn't say, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers, we got to postpone it. No, that's not true. And if you look at the games that were postponed this weekend, the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Wow. 2 crappy teams. The league postponed it. So can we stop with this whole, oh, man, we're being punished because we're not Aaron Rodgers. We're not Tom Brady. No, that's not it at all. And by the way, I do believe that Washington and Philadelphia, their games got moved, Kev, because everyone else's did.
Right.
There would be no urgency to move that game. You have 2 non-playoff teams. Who gives a rip? Get that game in. You're not going to win with starters or without. But I think the Browns and the Raiders in a clustered AFC race, I think that is a pretty important game to do, by all means necessary, find a way to get as good a product out there as possible. So there's that.
Yeah, and also, like, that whole thing about the Tom Brady thing and everything like that. Look, man, they suspended Tom Brady for 5 games for the whole Deflategate thing. So, like, he's been punished by the NFL. The New England Patriots have been punished by the NFL for doing illegal activities as well. So I don't think the NFL cares, about who you are. This isn't the NBA where, they give stars, good treatment and anything like that. Like, we're going to watch the NFL regardless of who's out there. How many terrible Thursday night games have I watched this season? All of them. I think the Green Bay and Cardinals game, that was good. Obviously, last night's game was awesome. That was a great game. The rest of it been you know what I'm saying? But I'm still watching because they know you're going to watch. I'm going to watch. Whatever reason you're watching for. Are you watching just for entertainment purposes? Are you watching it for fantasy football league purposes? Are you watching it for gambling purposes? You're going to watch. So it doesn't matter. Like I said before, they rolled out a wide receiver to play quarterback in an NFL game. And I guarantee in Denver, Colorado, and in New Orleans, that game did crazy numbers. They watched the wide receiver play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, man. The fans don't care. So the league is thinking to themselves, like, look, man, we're going to keep it rolling. We're just going to keep it rolling because they're going to watch regardless. And as far as the Browns and the Rams being so many players depleted because of COVID, it's only the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And not only to mention the right thing to do for give those teams a fair opportunity, but like, hey, man, what about the team that they playing against too? Like, let's make this fair. Let's make it fair and make it entertaining as well.
518-1410. Kev, who is up next?
Jay.
Jay, how are you? Welcome.
Good. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. Thanks for asking. Hope you have some plans for the weekend. I know I do. I'm excited to get out of here.
Finish up the Christmas shopping.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I literally wait till the 23rd. I wait till the exact last second. It's so bad. What's that?
That's the way to do it.
Right?
I got three buddies of mine. We get together on the 23rd. We go Christmas shopping, and we have a beverage or two.
There you go. And then that actually leads to very entertaining gifts. So you're like, I don't know why the hell we got that, but you know what? More power to. I mean, it leads to good stories. So there you go.
Exactly.
But what do you have for us, Ben?
I do think that the NFL has been a little more proactive than you guys are giving them credit for. They've got thresholds that when it gets to a certain outbreak in a team that they do the postponement. I wholeheartedly believe if it would have just been Baker and Case Keenum this week out, they would have been playing.
Oh, yeah. This is because the number's at 20.
They had everybody.
When you talked about the league being proactive, are you talking about the rule change from yesterday? Like they made that adjustment, but like the argument was still that the NFL, why are they waiting till December to make this rule change? They should have had this already planned just in case. Unless you know something. I must have missed something.
They may have had it on the back burner and just said, you know what, so far we've gotten through the season without having to throw up, salvos and waiting, and then all of a sudden all heck breaks loose. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, now we got to go to plan B. This is plan B. If you think about it, Kevin said something about the Browns playing 3 games in 15 days. That's not unusual. That happens every week. That happens every month in the NFL. You're talking about the Browns playing on Monday night and then playing Saturday night. That's a longer layoff from Sunday to Thursdays. That happens every year. So nothing's out of the unusual here. We're just rearranging the schedule a little bit. So nothing's changed. They're just taking advantage of what they have able to do and make everything still equity as far as the playing field goes.
I got you.
It's Sunday to Thursday is 4 days off. Monday to Saturday is 5. So we're good there.
But they've already done that this season.
Sunday.
Every team plays the whole Sunday, Thursday once a season. But now they're going to be asked to do it multiple times. Like, I mean, I understand they're playing and this is what they signed up for and all that whole rhetoric, but I just wanted them to get an opportunity to try to get some more bodies back on the team, because like when you're going out there with practice squad players or, free agents that don't even get to practice because they're not even practicing. Like these are glorified walkthroughs that they're doing. So if you're a practice squad guy or a guy straight off the street that they call just for depth purposes reasons, just to have a body around just in case something happens, and that just in case does happen, you have to go in the game and you haven't tackled or had physical football contact since you got cut in the preseason back in August. How do you think that's going to turn out? Like if it's a left tackle out there and he gets blown past and then the quarterback's just sitting there as a duck. Like I just think there's a lot more safety precautions that need to be thought about prior to this. It's just like, all right, I know they're up against it. There ain't no doubt about it. They're going to get the game in. But just to sit here and act like, oh, man, this is an easy turnaround situation, just go out there and play. I was never with that. I wasn't even with it last year with the Browns in their game against the Steelers in the playoffs. Like, yo, they're missing. Not only were they missing Stefanski, their head coach and play caller, but they were also missing players in that game as well because of COVID. And I thought that was kind of unfair to roll them out there like that as well. And I'm not even a Browns fan.
I'm going to ask you to be careful with the easy word because nobody said it. No one said it's easy.
Right on.
And no one said it's fair, but it's life. It's just the way that stuff rolls down the hill once in a while. And that's what you got to adjust to. I mean, I know they've got a time frame. They've only got so much time to do what they need to get done.
Right.
So you try to make the best of it. No one ever said, Kev, that it's easy on the players. No one said it. And it is harder. They hate the Thursday night games because of the short turnaround. But they love the money. So that's where it comes into.
I'm sure you're going to love the game on Christmas Day, too.
I hate the fact that anybody has to play on Christmas. I mean, I own a small business. I'm not going to work. I've worked Christmas days before.
Oh, me too.
I'm not going to have my employees work on it. Not happening.
If I was going to work on Christmas, though, I'd rather play in front of 40,000 fans and, be playing football, I guess. But no, yeah, absolutely.
Football all day, basketball.
I'd rather get their check on Christmas Day than my check.
That's a very valid point, too.
There you go, Jay.
But, Jay, Jay, we appreciate you. Thank you for the call, man.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Take care.
Later.
And keep in mind, you talked about that stretch. Every team has that tight window. You have that Sunday, Thursday game. Every team does that. The Browns earlier in the year, they had a 3 games in 10 game stretch as well. It started with, let me make sure I have the right one in front of me here. So it started on the 10th of October. Now this was that brutal stretch where the Browns had guys out left and right, not for COVID, but for injuries.
Right.
I remember that game, on the 10th against the Chargers. Their, offensive line, pretty much every big piece on their defense was out. They lost to the Chargers 47-42 in a game that they should have won, by the way. They had a big lead in the first half, and they choked it away down the stretch.
That was on the Sunday, right?
Yep, that was on the Sunday. And then so then you had the 17th. Or maybe, no, I'm sorry. It started with Arizona. My fault. It started with Arizona. It was the 10th. It was the 17th, 21st, and 31st. So they had that 3 games in 11 days in that little stretch right there. And against Arizona. Remember that game? They were decimated. They were like, I think they had like 18 guys on the injured list that time. Then they had that game with Denver, if you remember, where they had Case Keenum and every offensive lineman out. I mean, it was just an ugly game as well. That's the Dearness Johnson game. And then the next one was Pittsburgh. They got everyone back, but they looked exhausted. That was the OBJ drama. They lose him. And then the next week was, of course, my favorite game of the year, the Bengals game, 41-16.
You were at that game.
So there you go. But 518-1410, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on 1410 Wing AM. The show brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine, Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and, of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, call Brad Mays today, 937-572-7425. Again, if you're watching live on Facebook, check it out. There's more of Brad Mays' info. You can give him a call. Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Buying or selling a home, give Brad a call today, 937-572-7425. All right, the impacts of the transfer portal. Deion Sanders, prime time in his playing days, now prime time in his coaching days, made the biggest splash of National Signing Day, or the early signing day, or however you want to phrase it. We'll talk about all that on the other side. 518-1410, anything on your mind as we head into the weekend? Let's hear from you. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 43. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain, a low near 38. And tomorrow will be cloudy with rain, a high near 50. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I'd like to carry more parts at my shop, but I just don't have the room. Every time I go in the back to get wiper blades, I trip over a dusty crate of Honda air filters, then bang my head on some GTO radiator hoses. eBay Motors never has that problem. They stock all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, with everything from new headlights to vintage gear shifters. I can't imagine being able to stock 122 million parts. I mean, where would I get all those shelves? eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Are you one of the millions of homeowners who haven't refinanced yet? If so, I'm here to tell you it's not too late. Hi, I'm Wesley Hogan with Westland Financial. Although the lowest rates may be in our rearview mirror, as the economy recovers from the biggest economic shock of our lifetime, rates still remain near historic lows. In fact, with the dramatic increase in home values, this may be the perfect time to put that new home equity to work. Take advantage of our cash out refi program and pay off high rate credit cards, car loans, or other high interest rate debt. Or finally make those home improvements you put on hold for so long. Best of all, we can do this with no closing costs. That's right. Whether it's a conventional, FHA, or VA loan, we'll pay for your title, settlement, lender, and recording fees. So call Westland at 888-455-3669. That's 888-455-3669. It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. 888-455-3669.
Paid for by Westland Financial. NMLS number 3304. Not all loans apply. Equal housing lender.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the words he spoke before his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. And through TMF, these words can live in you too. Show the world what you're made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org.
Confession. I just started my holiday shopping. Luckily, Kohl's was here to help save the day. I got 50% off toys for my kids, 30% off a Ninja air fryer for my sister, and 40% off jammies for your families for my family. You can even get 15% off or 15, 20, or 30% off with a Kohl's card and earn Kohl's cash. So I guess you could say my holiday procrastination paid off. Select styles ends December 19th. Toys, coupons do not apply. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WIMG.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Give the gift of a Dayton tradition. Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps. Milano's gift cards are the perfect way to give good times and those favorite subs and pizza to family and friends. Right now, for each $25 Milano's gift card you buy, you'll get $5 more free.
This is CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger. Do you want to be a hero for the holidays? How about getting your loved one a new iPhone? That's right. Pure Talk has iPhone 12 starting at just $479 through the end of the year. And sure, they have 13s too. Switch to Pure Talk. Great nationwide 5G coverage. Yes, the same coverage as the big guys, but the average family saves over $800 a year. Now that's just smart. There's no need to overpay for Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. Plus, with Pure Talk's 30-day risk-free guarantee, you've got nothing to lose. Unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data is just $30 a month. And like I said, the iPhone 12, just $479. From your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say Jill50, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Plus, save on a new phone. That's pound 250, say Jill50. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless. Some restrictions apply. See site for details.
Right now at Wendy's, try their brand new fries for yourself. Made with real natural cut potatoes and guaranteed to be hot and crispy every time, these fries aren't an afterthought. They're fries you won't forget at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Skyline gift cards make great last-minute gifts. Now through Christmas Eve, you'll get a free $5 gift certificate when you buy $30 in Skyline gift cards at participating Skyline restaurants. See store for details. Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
You're out with friends and a few drinks becomes a few too many and you decide to drive anyway? What's the worst that can happen? Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
OHMB 803-342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate. 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Dash in for JCPenney's Super Saturday Sale. It's the last weekend to shop before Christmas. Make room in your sleigh for thousands of doorbusters. Play it smart and fill your cart with 30% off toys. Get double the denim with buy one, get one free Arizona jeans. And slip Yes Please diamonds into her stocking for $22.99 each. Hurry, wrap up the savings. Joy, comfort, peace. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items 12/17 through 12/19. Doorbusters excluded from coupons. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you're looking to satisfy those comfort food cravings, we've got just what you're looking for. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, homestyle happens here with our 12-piece strips meal for only $32.99. Warm up with a big helping of homestyle. Enjoy 12 all-white meat golden brown breast strips, 3 large freshly prepared sides, and 6 fluffy biscuits. It's the family meal everyone will love. Get a homestyle meal made easy with our 12-piece strips meal for only $32.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
We are back. Johnson, Steph Nash will be here on Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM. Also, finish show brought to you by Ryan Sports Medicine, Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Give Brad a call today, 937-572-7425. The cameras are up and rolling today after being down yesterday to start the show, but we are back up and going. So we did miss 2 days ago. Shout out. We had Mark Neal fill in the other day. Appreciate him. We had Dave Biddle on. We haven't heard Dave Biddle on the show for quite some time. So that was kind of cool. And that was National Signing Day, or the early signing day, what have you, for all sports. But football is the main animal that everyone was talking about that day, and rightfully so. The 2022 national recruiting rankings as of right now, Texas A&M. Look, people all the time say SEC bias this, SEC bias that. But, Kev, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 6 are all SEC teams, the recruiting rankings. And I'm including Texas as an SEC squad just because, they are. It's just a matter. I did read the other day, by the way, it's expensive to get the buyout from the Big 12, that it's not looking likely that they'll join the SEC until 2024, 2025, which is still 2-3 more seasons. So 2 more seasons. And I guess them and Oklahoma have to go together. Is there some kind of clause that they are hand in hand in this? I thought that was kind of strange.
I would imagine so.
Very weird, but that's kind of, I need to go find that article. I always do this, by the way. I click on stuff all day and just read it, and then I exit out and go to something else, and it's not the good journalistic practice on my part to just continue saying, actually, you know what? Forget it. It is. Ever since we entered the world of, my sources, and I don't have to tell you who it is. I could just say my sources say, fill in the blank. I could say any crazy-ass thing I want, and you're not allowed to ask. I can't reveal who my sources are. So, whatever. Spare me the journalistic, principles or what have you. But so anyways, forget all that. I don't know why. I was doing so good today. 5 o'clock. And
you don't care.
I don't care. Texas A&M right now with 25 commits, 4 5-stars, 19 4-stars, 3 3-stars. Who cares? We don't care about no freaking 3-stars. I'm joking, of course. But, in the world of recruiting, 4s and 5s, that's all we care about, right? Texas A&M has the number 1 recruiting class. Alabama 2, Georgia 3, Ohio State 4. How about Texas coming up at 5? Here's why I'm bummed about Texas being at 5. I want Big 12 Texas to be at 5, not SEC Texas at 5. But you're already seeing the power of the SEC. We can't sit here, Kevin, continue to get mad. And it's not really you and I, because we understand how football works a little bit and whether the perception is the reality or not. More often than not, it is reality. The SEC, the second, it's not a coincidence that not even a season after, this whole year after the announcement came that Texas was joining the SEC, it doesn't surprise me that Sarkisian was able to get a top 5 recruiting class right off the bat, especially in the state of Texas. It's, it is what it is. I'm tired of people, complaining about the SEC bias, but at the end of the day, the SEC bias isn't a media-driven thing. It's that's the perception of the conference. That's the conference to go to. Say what you want, Buckeye fans, but I'm telling you right now, no one grows up saying, I'm dreaming of playing in the Big Ten one day. Unfortunately, for our the generation that's growing up right now, the SEC, that's where you strive to play. Even if it's playing at a Kentucky, even if it's playing, to say that you play in the SEC, Kev, that's the reality of it. I'm not saying that that's the only reason these top 5 recruiting classes are all SEC teams outside of Ohio State, but let's be honest, that's kind of where we're at. Ohio State coming in at 4. They had some major decommits. I know that Jeremy Birmingham with Letterman Row had tweeted out that with all the uncertainty and rumors of Ryan Day's future in Columbus, that it did lead to a couple decommits, that it did lead to that. But let's not get it all, twisted here, because every team has decommits on that day. Your overall thoughts, we'll get to Deion in a moment, but the top 5 recruiting classes right now, again, Texas A&M 1, Bama 2, Georgia 3, Ohio State 4, Texas 5. This is why I get mad at people who call it the TV invitational for the playoff. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. Every year, they are the top recruiting classes every single year. And then people wonder why the committee gives them the benefit of the doubt if they lose a game that they shouldn't, or don't look as sharp in a stretch of games that they shouldn't, because common sense tells you, they're not playing well, but we know that team's better than everybody else. Like Michigan kicked Ohio State's ass. We know Ohio State's better than Michigan. That's arrogant on our part. That's fine, but common sense tells you bigger, faster, stronger, more talent. Ohio State, this Michigan-Ohio State team played 5 more times in a row. Ohio State's winning 4 of those guaranteed, possibly all 5. That's just my take on it. You don't have to agree. But your overall take on this, it is interesting when I see this. I'm like, people complain about how it's rigged and it's this and it's that. It's not rigged. It's right here in front of you. Every year you see these same teams kicking ass on the recruiting trail, and it doesn't surprise me at all that every year it's the same teams in the mix. recruit better. That's all I got to say. Texas, good for you, by the way.
Yeah, it's all about talent. And college football is about talent. You know, you have the most talent on your team, you're going to win the most games. This isn't the NFL where, you know, you don't have a talented roster. When you are in the SEC and the Big Ten and you're one of these big time programs that are bringing in the most talent, you're going to win the most games, just period, point blank. Yeah, there's going to be upsets and everything like that. You're going to travel to, you know, I don't know, Northwestern on a night game and they jump up and bite you and get you. Ohio State has experienced that with Purdue and everything like that, because at the end of the day, they're still young men and everything like that. But this is where it's won, you know, and I am still not a person that just says like, oh man, you got this X amount of 5-star dudes. This makes you 100% better, because you look at Penn State, they're always in the top 10 and they haven't been able to crack that college football playoff yet. You know, they beat Ohio State. They beat Ohio State that one year, but guess what? They lost another game prior to that, so that kind of kept them out of there. So for the teams that aren't in the top 5, it ain't the end all be all like, oh man, we shouldn't compete, but this is where it's won. You know, the season plays out, the practices play out, the talent comes there, but this is what it's about. This is the most important part, acquiring talent. And that's part of one of the reasons Dan Mullen was fired at Florida. He's an X's and O's guy. He doesn't love recruiting the same way Nick Saban and his staff loves recruiting, the same way Jimbo Fisher loves recruiting. Like it shows back when Jimbo Fisher was at Florida and Urban Meyer was at Florida, Jimbo Fisher came with a staff and he kicked Urban Meyer's butt on the recruiting, and then it flipped with everything with Tim Tebow and everything that was going on in Florida. With one recruiting class, it flipped. It flipped to Florida State's way. He got a headache and retired. You know what I'm saying? So that's how fast this thing can happen, man. If you get the right recruiting class and things pop the right way, you can be a power, because Florida State wasn't that. Florida State was all right, but they weren't winning at the clip that they were with Bobby Bowden was in his heyday. And then Jimbo got those back-to-back recruiting classes and beat out a ton of guys that were headed to Florida to go to Florida State, and they were boom. And now Jimbo Fisher is back at it again, getting top-level recruiting classes. So, you know, he's got the talent. We know he can coach. He's an X's and O's guy. So it's up to them, Texas A&M, and it's also up to Georgia, because Georgia's had several top 3 recruiting classes. Forget top 5. They had several top 3 recruiting classes. And that's why I've been harping saying it's championship or bust for them, because at some point you're not going to pull in a top 5 recruiting class. That's going to be held against you. Like, oh, you want to go there? All they do is choke. So Georgia better step up New Year's Eve night, baby.
Yeah, because eventually you have to have a championship to kind of show for all the work you're doing on the recruiting trail, like you just briefly mentioned. I mean, like I said, like Ohio State at least is a champion. They average a championship a decade. Alabama averages 100 a decade, it seems. But like Alabama, and this is why, you know, I remember, back in the day when I was considered a Buckeye hater, it was always the early and National Signing Day that I would piss people off the most, because I wouldn't get excited on those days. I'd be pissed off. I'm like, everyone's excited. We got the best players. We're the best. You know, Bucknuts and 11 Warriors and all those blogging websites. Oh, we're the best. No one touches us. No one this and that. It's like, so that's why I get angry, because you have the best players in the world and you have one championship in a decade to show for it. Like, that to me is underperforming. I always said Urban Meyer was the Calipari, that he was the Calipari of college football, because, you know, it was always such a big honor on the NFL draft night to see Urban Meyer and to see all the Buckeyes be, you know, draft pick after draft pick after draft pick. But it's like, how do you have all that damn NFL talent and only one championship to show for it? That whole stretch that Urban was there. And that's like Calipari at Kentucky. Talking about all the Kentucky players that are dropped in the NBA, you have one championship to show for. So that would always frustrate me on these days, because all these great players you're getting and you have nothing to show for it. Alabama, they maximize their elite talent that they get. Georgia, if I was critical of Ohio State and Urban Meyer for not maximizing their talent, then I don't know. I need to be way harder on Kirby Smart in Georgia, because eventually that new shiny toy storyline wears off. Right. Georgia's no longer the new shiny toy. They are an elite recruiting program. They are a very, very, I mean, they're the second best program in the SEC, which that is saying a ton. And to me, I think that they underachieve. If they don't win a national championship this year, and you've even said it, they're a championship or bust team this year, but it's inexcusable. They are in the top 5 for the last 5 years. They have been in the top 5 recruiting class every year. There's no excuse.
And not only that, the top 5 recruiting class, they're sending dudes to the pros in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that many guys that pan out, hit rate, like, oh man, we getting X amount of 5 and 4-star guys, and these dudes are actually living up to that potential, and we're sending them to the pros. So for me, that speaks more volume. Like when you get the player and you develop the player, and the NFL says, oh man, you developed this guy really well, we want him to play on our team, and they're drafted in the first 2 rounds, that means not only did you do your part developing him, but the player bought into everything that you were doing inside your program. So there isn't like a rogue player saying like, oh man, I'm not buying in, I'm not with it, I want to do it my way. So you've had the guys buy in, you had the talent, and the NFL has proven that you had the talent by drafting your players, but you haven't been able to get it done on the biggest stage. Now, I've been here before with the whole Georgia situation. Well, they were literally one blown coverage away from winning the national championship. Like, I know everybody loves the fact that Tua came in and they won the national championship in Alabama and everything like that. Let's not forget, on the very play before he hit Devontae Smith for the touchdown, he was sacked for a 15-yard loss, and that was about to be game. And the safety, for some strange reason, stayed in the middle of the field instead of staying wide, as you're taught to do. So they were right there. They had their opportunity, and now they have another opportunity coming on New Year's Eve. So you better maximize all this talent and get a championship, because if not, it's going to start affecting you in recruiting. People are going to start going the other way. Like people that are on the fence, like that are flipping to going to Georgia or up to Georgia and A&M or wherever school, they're going to start going to that other school because they're going to start believing what the other coaches are telling them. Like, well, they're not maximizing you. We're going to maximize you. We're going to not only get you to the NFL, but we're going to get you some jewelry before you get to the NFL.
518-1410, 518-1410. So Shaw chimes in.
What up, Shaw?
He says that this is the 6th cycle that we are in. You only get the good recruits if you are in the playoff, yet the same teams keep getting the best recruits, and people can't see or choose not to see the correlation. Possibly, but I disagree with that, and here's why. The playoff started in 14, and if you go back to the 2012, I started 2011. From 2011 all the way up until now, even 3 years before the playoff had even become known, and before we even knew who the same teams were going to be all the time. Like, we're talking about name, image, and likeness here in a second. Everyone said, oh, name, image, and likeness. It's not fair. The middle tier programs aren't going to be able to compete with the big tier programs. All the good players are going to go to. All the good players have been going to Ohio State way before name, image, and likeness. All the good players were going to Bama and Georgia and everywhere. Name, image, and likeness has nothing to do with why those schools are going to continue. Name, image, and likeness can only help the middle tier schools. In fact, Jackson State's a prime example of that prime time. We'll get to that in a moment, but like the name, image, and likeness, it's helped the schools that everyone said it wouldn't help. No, it's helping them. Look, they're just sweetening the pot for these guys that are going there. But Alabama's not going to do better recruiting because of name, image, and likeness. They're just going to make the experience better for the guys that they were going to get to begin with. But if you go back to those, so even before the playoff, because everyone said, well, the 14 playoff's not fair because now all the good players just go to those programs. All of those players were going to Bama before the playoff. They were going to Ohio State before the playoff. Georgia might have benefited from the playoff perception, but at the same time, it's not as if they're winning or, competing in the playoff every single year. So that's not, that myth is debunked as well. 2012, 3 of the top 5, Bama, OSU, Georgia. 2 years before the playoff. 2013, Bama, Ohio State, Georgia in the top 10, but Bama and Ohio State in the top 5. 2014, Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, 1, 3, and 8. Bama, Georgia, Ohio State in the top 6 in 2015. 2016, Bama, OSU, Georgia, top 5. Folks, the playoff is not rigged. It is not against Cincinnati. It's Cincinnati misses the playoff. Cincinnati missed the playoff 2 years from now, yesterday or 2 days ago. All right. Not saying they can't make it. They made it this year. But my point is when people say, oh, Cincinnati doesn't get the same breaks as Georgia and Ohio State and Alabama, well, it's because of days like 2 days ago. National Signing Day. Those days, look at the talent on these rosters. Now, it's up to coaching to do something with it, because you want to know another team that's in the top 10 every year, Kev, for the past decade up until the last 2 or 3 years? Texas.
Yep.
Texas has top recruiting classes all the time. they got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and
They got nothing.
A state like Texas, you're going to be in the top 10 by accident. You know what I'm saying? It's the biggest state in the union. Like, of course, they're going to have a ton of talent going there.
So 518-1410. But no, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like, I see what people are saying. I do think that the brands of Ohio State, Georgia, and Ohio State, they were already established brands. Talented players wanted to go there to begin with. Clemson turned into a national power in spite of that. Like, they don't really have that. The other day I talked about how Clemson is one of the top recruiting programs. They're actually not. I mean, they are. They're a top 10 class regularly. But at the end of the day, it's not as if it's a situation where, they're at the top. So, like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't want to hear about no bias anymore. If it's a bias for the legitimate teams. And it starts with the recruiting. This is why people talk about how worn out these coaches are getting with name, image, and likeness, because you recruit to build a class for the 2022 class. For me, I think that these days are going to be less value. Like, I don't care about, for one, the early signing period ruined the national signing day to begin with, Kev.
Right.
Now I think name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, forget name, image, and likeness. That actually has nothing to do with this. The transfer portal is going to make these recruiting or these national signing days even more irrelevant, because I don't really care that you have the top class in the 2022 year, because half them guys aren't going to be on your team long term. Because the second a lot of those 3 or those 4 and 5 stars don't get the ample time they want, they're going to go somewhere else where they can. So, like, that's where I'm kind of like, these things are cool. I think they told a better story years ago. I don't think they're going to tell as much of a story now. I think it's only a matter of time before 24/7 Sports, Bucknuts, and others starts releasing, transfer portal rankings.
Right.
Who won the transfer portal. Like, they maybe do that already. I don't know. I haven't come across that. But I think that the next big thing, because we all love lists, our top 10 this, our top 25, our rankings here, our recruiting classes. I think recruiting classes are going to mean little to nothing, big picture eventually. And I think eventually taking over that is going to be the transfer portal rankings, because really, or some kind of, they're going to mix them somehow. I mean, there has to be some kind of way to be able to look big picture as how these are correlating.
I think that is going to help not UCs of the world, because they're headed to the big time. But I think it's going to help those schools, because the guys that end up leaving, say, Ohio State or Alabama, I mean, UC already has a couple guys on their team. Ford, the running back from UC, he's a 5-star recruit that went to Alabama who couldn't get on the field, and now he's at UC and everything like that. I think it's going to help them, because not only the fact that they'll be in the transfer portal market, but the guys like the Alabamas, the Ohio States of the world, and A&Ms and Georgia, I think they're going to leave space open for transfers to basically cherry pick who they want. Like, okay, Ohio State, like, we kind of in need of a tight end. So Ohio State can cherry pick the best available tight end on the transfer portal market. So instead of saying like, oh man, Ohio State, we're going to bring in 20 freshmen every single year, maybe Ohio State is only bringing in 15 to 18 to leave themselves some wiggle room to bring in somebody from the transfer portal, like Jonah Jackson. When he transferred from Rutgers, he plugged right in on Ohio State's offensive line. He was considered to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick coming out of Rutgers, came to Ohio State, went in the 2nd round and everything like that. So I think so when you leave those spots open at Ohio State, those kids got to go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So if Alabama and Ohio State talking to a 4-star guy from locally in town and everything like that, and unfortunately where we run out of room because we want to keep this spots open for potential transfer portal guys, that means they're going to have to go somewhere else. So if that somewhere else is Michigan State, UC, Kentucky, and everything like that, I think that only helps them more. And then not only that, the guys that don't work out at Ohio State and Alabama, they're going to go to the next best thing. So ultimately, I think it's going to increase the competition level for everybody, because everybody's going to have an opportunity to up their talent pool, because there's only a finite about how many spots are available per team.
Yeah, see, like, I hate the transfer portal, what it's doing to college football and basketball. What it's doing for coaches is coaches love laying out a program for the next, like, they want an idea of who their starter is going to be for the next couple of years. And now it's just, you're hitting reset every year. And I think coaches have every right to be frustrated with that. Ryan Day said it. I know when Dabo Swinney said it, everyone just said, oh, he just hates athletes making money and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, these guys are ticked off because Dabo went from Clemsoning in a program that really wasn't, like, the way they're viewed now is not how they were viewed a decade ago.
Right.
like or hate or love Dabo, you got to respect the job he did taking that program and making them relevant. Like 10 years ago, if you would have told me that Clemson was being looked at in the same light as Ohio State and in Alabama and Georgia and others, I would have said, no, I'd be, you know, I just want like North Carolina, for instance. If I said 10 years from now, North Carolina is going to be looked at like Alabama and Ohio State, you would laugh. That's what you would have said about Clemson 10 plus years ago. And that here they are. So Dabo's done a fantastic job. Dabo took a program that's not your traditional power and made them a traditional power in today's era of football. So he did it the hard way. He had to take them from nothing and build them into this. It's not like Ryan Day. This is where the Harbaugh comment came from. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it does. I think it takes a ton of talent to keep a program afloat. Let's just be real. Like Ryan Day, he could have been handed the keys to that and just let the whole thing fall. You know, and he didn't. He brought in Justin Fields. He got rid of Tate Martell. He made big ballsy decisions right off the bat. They could have rolled with Tate Martell. They could have said, hey, it's an Urban guy, and Urban we trust, and off they go. Ryan Day said, absolutely not. We're going to get Justin Fields, and we're going to let you go, and we're going to just start kicking ass. So Dabo did it in a way that he built them into this contender year in and year out. So now that he mastered that, now the game has shifted, and now he's frustrated because it has to go like everything has changed the perception of these kids. We can't tell him that he's wrong for thinking a certain way whenever his way of thinking built them into what they are. And Ryan Day's, you know, reiterating a lot of the same things when it comes to the transfer portal. Here's Ryan Day, a quote I'll read here. He goes, I think it's dangerous to live in the portal world. I don't think it's sustainable for the chemistry and culture of your team to be doing that. That I agree with 1,000,000%, because these coaches are supposed to build programs. You are not building a program when you are hitting reset on your roster every year. It might be because people need to stop acting like what's convenient for the athlete is convenient for the sport, because it's not. You know, it's not convenient for the sport. And I think it makes it difficult for fans to, I mean, even as fans, if I know, man, we got Quinn Ewers coming to Ohio State, we got that star for the next 3 years, you might not even have him a year. And you didn't. I think it messes with the morale of fans too. Like, it's hard to get excited about anything because every year is like, well, I don't know what we have. We have, you know, we have it, but we won't have them for long. And then coaches feel like I need to baby these kids even more. I got to give them what they want, because if not, they'll be gone. Hey, we have a plan for you. Not this year. Quinn Ewers, we don't have a plan for you this year because we got CJ Stroud. May not have a plan for you next year, but your time will come, Mac Jones. Just be patient. But Mac Jones is a great story because that doesn't happen. So Ryan Day would go on to say, say that it's not good for the culture to be doing this. So if you do bring in somebody, it has to be deliberate. We have to think it all the way through, and it has to be the right fit at the right time. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's the case for anyone you bring in, but it is delicate bringing in someone from the transfer portal. Think about our real world lives. I've been in job interviews where they're like, hey, you know, you have a lot of jobs on your resume. Companies don't like job hoppers. They don't like it. We look bad. If we're constantly taking a job, leaving it, taking a job, leaving it, that doesn't look good when we go sit down for potential interviews elsewhere. So you could say, well, Justin, you have the right to do that. You have the freedom to take any job you want and leave any job you want. I do, but there are repercussions that come with that. I could sit down with a future potential employer that says, we really like you, but there's a red flag here. You've been at like 55 different radio stations, and clearly, you know, we're looking to bring in someone that we can rely on long term. And obviously you need to be happy. We can't tell you can't leave, but your work history shows that we don't think we can rely on you. That employer has every right to do that, and it would be my fault. Yes, I have the right to take any job I want and leave any job I want as many times as I want. But what I don't have the right to do is to tell a future employer, you just got to deal with it because I could do what I want. That's the same thing in sports, in the sports world. Sure, these athletes can come and go as they please. They look at you funny. If they don't look at you the right way, you could leave. You don't get the minutes you want, you can leave. If the school won't help you do your homework, wink, wink, like some of the other athletes are getting their homework done, I'm going to leave. You can do whatever the hell you want, but eventually, like Ryan Day is saying here, yeah, and you got to be careful. It's a little dangerous, because I'm not saying every kid that's in the transfer portal is based on a temper tantrum, but more times than not, it kind of is. Tate Martell's the face of a temper tantrum of, I'm going to get, don't swing and miss. So I see both sides here. Yes, the players have every right to do whatever the hell they want, transfer as much as you want, but don't be surprised when you're viewed at in a different light. We can't sit here and defend the athletes and say, well, it's not fair to view them that way, all while we live in a real world where we're viewed at that way. And if I was running a company and I was sitting down doing interviews with people, man, I really like your education. You're really smart, but man, you've been job hopping. You have 5 jobs in the last 3 years. What's going on? You don't seem very employable. You don't seem very reliable. How am I supposed to build something around you if I can't rely on you to be here for longer than a year? That's real world. And I think that exists in the sports world as well. So, yes, these kids have the right to transfer as much as they want, but they don't have the right to not face some of those repercussions of the perception of them at times. You're seeing it now with players choosing to make decisions for themselves based on bowl games and opting out, like Pickett, by the way. One of my favorite bowl games has just been massacred because of Walker and Pickett.
Yeah.
I'm still in the middle on that. I don't like it, but it's justifiable. I still hate it, but it's justifiable.
As far as the transfer portal is concerned, we got to remember they can only transfer once without having to sit out a year. So I don't think that you can build a program strictly through the transfer portal. I think you do have to have that core base of, incoming freshmen that buy into the culture of the program and everything like that. I don't think that's sustainable for the transfer portal. I think you do how Mel Tucker did. You were able to hit big in the transfer portal, not only with Kenneth Walker III, but you were able to get some offensive linemen, you were able to get some defensive tackles and things of that nature. So you're able to supplement your roster that way and get you relevant and get you some wins instead of having to wait for that talent to develop that you got out of the high school ranks, especially as a first-year coach. Because when you're a first-year coach, especially when he showed up, everybody on that roster, he didn't recruit any of them. Nobody outside of the transfer dudes. He didn't recruit any of the freshmen that were on that roster. So I think that's vital as well. And as far as the adjustment that these coaches are going to have to make, it's an adjustment for the players too. And everybody in the transfer portal isn't in the transfer portal because they want to be in the transfer portal, especially when you're a new head coach and you have a new culture and you're trying to fix things and everything like that. There are extra interview meetings that the coaches have with the players and basically sit down and tell them like, hey, look, we're going to honor your scholarship, but you ain't going to play. We've over recruited your position. This younger dude's going to play over you. So you can stay or you can get in the portal and find somewhere else to go. That somewhere else to go is a lower level, is a different school, all power to you and everything like that. So there's a ton of people in the portal. It's those kids. It's the kids that are crybabies and want more time. There's kids who like, man, I've been here 3 or 4 years. We ain't winning enough, a la Jonah Jackson. And like, man, I want to play for something big. I'm already on the radar of the NFL. But shoot, if I go to this school that's on TV and playing on ABC at night and they're a big time program, maybe I can up my stock. So there's an array of people in the transfer portal and it's an adjustment. It's a big time adjustment. I can't sit here and act like, oh man, it's easy. Don't worry about it. Coaches, y'all be fine. Y'all get paid a lot of money. This y'all job. I can't sit here and act like that. That'll be foolish, but it is an adjustment. It's an adjustment for everybody. And the person or people that we should be looking to have some type of understanding or rules and regulations about anything in college sports is the NCAA. And just like all the coaches, they just want to know what's going on. And the NCAA can never give you a straight answer and try to come up with something. They just are always MIA, in my opinion, like when it comes to stuff like this. And I'm not sitting here acting like, oh, I'm not with the transfer portal. I'm with the transfer portal. I think it's a fair situation where, all right, we give you a mulligan. Basically, this is what it is. Like we give you the one-time transfer. You can transfer where you want without having to sit out a year, a mulligan year, whatever. But like, that's it. Like there's nothing else. So there's so many other question marks. Because I listened to what Dabo said, and yeah, Dabo comes across a little whiny and everything like that. And so, be perfectly honest, so did Ryan Day. But Ryan Day was more concise about his questions. He had actual questions posing, as opposed to Dabo just saying, well, it isn't fair. You're just going to ruin in college football and everything like that. Coach Day was talking about the program and like, how can we build a program if we constantly have people coming in and out? Like, so is this going to be an ongoing thing? He had questions as opposed to Dabo just basically sitting up there whining. So I think that's like the disconnect.
Day's whining too, though. Like I said, I think it's a dangerous world to live in. I don't think it's sustainable for the chemistry and culture of your team. Like that's basically, I mean, that's what he's saying. Like, I mean, I think they're basically saying the same thing.
I got to pull it up because I listened to it. He had questions. He asked the actual reporters questions. If I can find it, I'll pull it up.
But you just hate Dabo.
I don't hate Dabo. I don't hate Dabo.
Dabo and him can say the same thing. You just got to hate it because Dabo's.
I don't hate Dabo. I think Dabo is one heck of a recruiter. And he did something that hadn't been done at Clemson since the 80s. So you got to take your hat off to him for that. Now, the other stuff that Dabo be on, like, I can't get jiggy with that, but him as a recruiter, and obviously he's a leader of men because people ain't going to go there if you're not. Like, think about it. Like, you talked about their recruiting. They're not top 5 recruiting. Now they're top 5 quarterback recruiting. Like, think about the quarterbacks that he was able to snap. I want to see what he's able to do now that Tony Elliott is gone, the OC, and now that Venables is gone back to Oklahoma. Like, those are not only his lead assistants, offense and defensive coordinator, but his lead recruiters. So people have this misnomer that, oh man, the head coach is the lead recruiter. The head coach is the closer. The head coach can't call a kid 5 times a week. Like, that's against the rules. So he's the closer. Who's setting it up? Who's lining it up for him to close? You know what I'm saying? Who's the starting pitcher? Who's the reliever? And he's the closer. So I want to see the adjustments that he makes, because we've seen that happen with Urban Meyer. Like, obviously won a national championship here, had a blip year where the offense was sputtering with the back and forth with JT and Cardell. And what did Urban Meyer do? He fixed the staff. He got some great coaches in there and recruiting. So that's where these college coaches really make their money, to get their other coaches. They hire other great coaches, because position coaches, like, their job is to coach their positions. Like, yeah, Hartline, he's there to coach the wide receivers. He can do that in his sleep. But the recruiting, that's the hard part. Brian Hartline played in the NFL. He played at Ohio State. He knows how to play wide receiver. He knows how to transmit that information to his wide receivers. His real job is getting that talent and getting recruits on that campus and getting them to sign on that dotted line to play at The Ohio State University. That's their real job, is recruiting. The playing part, this is easy. You think Larry Johnson really needs to do all this stuff? Like, he can coach these dudes without looking. He knows exactly what he's doing. His job is to recruit and get the talent. His job was to get Chase Young to come to Ohio State was way harder to coach than to coach Chase Young. Like, the coaching this supreme talent is easy. Getting them to come to the school is the hard part. That's why they paid the big bucks.
Speaking of big bucks, Deion.
Prime time
indeed. I want to talk about the perception of HBCUs in regards to what just happened over the weekend, or over the national or the early signing day. Deion Sanders and Jackson State making headlines by primetime. No surprise there at all. I love what happened over just a few days ago. Florida State stunned a little bit, and I think this is going to create quite a stir moving forward for some of the right reasons and some of the wrong reasons. We'll talk about that next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Right now at Wendy's, try their brand new fries for yourself. Made with real natural cut potatoes and guaranteed to be hot and crispy every time, these fries aren't an afterthought. They're fries you won't forget at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Would you like to save hundreds of dollars on your real estate taxes? Celebrate the holidays with the gift of a lower tax bill. This is Montgomery County Auditor Carl Keith, and if you're a homeowner age 65 or older, or you are permanently and totally disabled, you could be eligible for the homestead exemption. To find out if you qualify, call my homestead hotline at 937-225-4341. The deadline to apply for this tax break is December 31st, but if you are already enrolled, you do not need to reapply. New applicants are subject to an income test. Visit our website for more information at mcauditor.org or call 937-225-4341. That hotline number again is 937-225-4341. And remember, the deadline to apply is December 31st. This is Auditor Carl Keith wishing you and your homestead the best this holiday season.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com. UnitedRoofing.com.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Give the gift of a Dayton tradition. Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps. Milano's gift cards are the perfect way to give good times and those favorite subs and pizza to family and friends. Right now, for each $25 Milano's gift card you buy, you'll get $5 more free.
Looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone on your list? Surprise the family with a membership to Walnut Grove Country Club. Walnut Grove has it all: a challenging golf course, leagues for men and women, a kids golf program, large pool, lots of social activities, great food, and the most fun Friday nights in town, all in a friendly, comfortable atmosphere. Call Caitlin at Walnut Grove and lock in a single or family membership for next year at 2021 prices. Walnut Grove Country Club. It's where you belong.
Forecast quality candidates ahead. Indeed skills tests help you find the right hire faster. Screen for skills your job requires. Hiring becomes a breeze. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 43. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain, a low near 38. And tomorrow will be cloudy with rain, a high near 50. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
If coming up with the perfect gift idea is making you feel a little like the Grinch, Roosters can put you in the giving spirit. For every $50 of gift cards purchased, you'll receive a $10 Roosters Holiday Buck to enjoy Roosters award-winning wings and so much more. Don't be a Grinch. How dare you! We all know it's better to give than receive, right? What could be better than giving and receiving? Go to roosterswings.com for more info or drop by any of our locations and purchase your gift cards today. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas from Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Dash in for JCPenney's Super Saturday Sale. It's the last weekend to shop before Christmas. Make room in your sleigh for thousands of doorbusters. Play it smart and fill your cart with 30% off toys. Get double the denim with buy one, get one free Arizona jeans. And slip Yes Please diamonds into her stocking for $22.99 each. Hurry, wrap up the savings. Joy, comfort, peace. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items 12/17 through 12/19. Doorbusters excluded from coupons. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Everyone always talks about magic during the holidays. Magic, as in objects miraculously appearing at your front door because you had them delivered through the Home Depot app. Magic, as in predicting the future, knowing what a product will be like just by reading our customer reviews. This may all feel like magic, but it isn't. It's just good old-fashioned cutting-edge technology. Make the holidays yours with a little help from the Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Ring in the new year with your family and friends with a bowling party as we count down to 2022. Polking offers all the party favors and a great food menu this New Year's Eve. This event sells out every year, so don't wait. Reserve your lane today. Safe, sanitized, and socially distanced. Let the good times roll at Polking Lanes in Dayton on Wilmington Avenue, Polking Woodman Lanes in Kettering on Woodman Drive, and Polking Lane South in Centerville on Kingsridge Drive.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
Ohio State was scheduled to take on the Wildcats of Kentucky tomorrow in the CBS Sports Classic, but due to a COVID outbreak within the Buckeyes program, that matchup has been canceled, not postponed. Any non-conference games that cannot be completed due to COVID, they're just being canceled, and really you rarely see anything like that rescheduled anyways if a game cannot take place in the non-con especially. But I do think that if you're watching and talking about other sports, reevaluating and pivoting during this time when it comes to COVID, I do think that some of these conferences that have opted to force teams to forfeit games due to COVID outbreaks like this, like if we're watching teams like the Browns and others in the NFL be pushing games back, I hate that. And, I don't know how every conference is, but like Wright State and the Horizon League, if they have, COVID outbreak amongst their team, like any game that they miss because of that, regardless of vaccination status, it is just forfeited. And I'm like, I think that's ridiculous. Like,
not fair.
I know, for some of the women's teams have had that already done, where they've had to just straight up forfeit games because of a couple players with it. I think that's ridiculous. The conferences, of course, and I think the schools vote on it and all that, but like, I do think some of that needs to be, changed and adapted, especially if you're watching. I mean, the NFL and others are adapting. I think that the colleges need to be adapting to that too. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know how the A10 is. I think I'm not sure. I would have to look that up.
I agree. Like out of conference, okay, we got to cancel it. We got other games to play and everything like that. We got to uphold our conference and everything like that. But in conference game, you should be able to get that rescheduled. You should allow not only the team that is dealing with COVID the opportunity to play, but the other team too. Like, I think that people get it twisted and think like, oh man, the team that has COVID issues, they're the only ones that's being penalized. The other team is being penalized as well. The other team,
not the team picking up dubs in.
They're picking up dubs, but like a dub without getting better. So let's say there's two teams that are both middle of the road, and the coach wants them to get reps or play against other people and everything like that. They're not going to get any better by just sitting there and waiting to play another game and everything like that. I think it does themselves a disservice. Like, let them play, reschedule the game.
So, Mark Smith talked about the transfer portal. He goes, that's the transfer portal for you. I mean, now we have to worry about name, image, and likeness. When you say we, who's we? I'm still adamant that the name, image, and likeness effect on anything in recruiting means nothing for us as Buckeye fans, Bama fans. It might come up and bite you one time if a Deion can get the number 2 team in the recruiting class, in the recruiting rankings to flip like they did, like he was able to do. That impacts you, yes, but when you're an elite program like Ohio State, Alabama, and others, like that doesn't really. Ohio State just lost the number 1 quarterback in the 21 recruiting class, and they're not going to miss a beat next year or in the future, because as soon as CJ Stroud's done, they're going to have another line of elite quarterbacks ready to go because it's Ohio State. The name, image, and likeness stuff, the NIL, that does not impact Ohio State. It doesn't impact Alabama. I don't even think it helps them in recruiting, Kev. They're getting the best players in the world anyways.
Right.
I think it's just those best players in the world that were already going there. Now their pot's just sweeter.
Right.
I mean, pot. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I have no clue what all goes on. Everything's.
You've been to college.
I'm just saying. And if I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, like, who knows? But no, I don't think name, image, and likeness, anything like that. Like, everyone was so terrified of that. It doesn't do a dang thing. I keep hearing people say, man, that's really going to give the advantage to the bigger guys because they have more money. And the bigger guys always had the advantage over you anyways because their brand is bigger. Their resources are better. Their facilities are better coaches, more money for money has always been what has led to Ohio State and others being better brands and programs because they just have more resources that even went beyond before name, image, and likeness. That's not the thing. The portal is more impactful on college programs than name, image, and likeness, if that makes sense. So Lamar Shelley, he says, Kev, that in the last 5 years, Ohio State has had a Heisman-winning quarterback and the best receiver in the nation transfer. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's a problem if you are an LSU, if you had Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow transferred from LSU and went elsewhere to win a national championship. That's a problem. LSU benefited from that. Ohio State didn't not benefit from that. Ohio State's not going to, if they had Burrow and Haskins that year, they're still not winning a national championship. They're not making the playoff unless Joe Burrow could have stopped Purdue from putting 50 points up on the board. So I'm just saying like that wouldn't have mattered. Ohio State has lost Joe Burrow and now Quinn Ewers in the last 4 years, and it's not going to impact them one bit. Quinn Ewers leaving has zero impact on Ohio State because Quinn Ewers, do you think anyone next year with CJ Stroud picking up where he left off this year with a full year of experience and another full off season, do you think anyone at Ohio State next year is going to be saying, man, I really wish we had Quinn Ewers? I don't care if Quinn Ewers averages more passing yards than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is just fine. I don't care if he throws more touchdown passes than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is just fine. When the Buckeyes struggle next year, if they struggle, it'll be because of defense like it's been the last couple years. Offense is not the problem. I don't feel like Quinn Ewers leaving is a problem. Quinn Ewers left because, for one, you can. 2, he wasn't going to be the starter for another full year. 3, the name, image, and likeness, I still think that he leaves even without NIL money. But, that's another motivating factor to go leave. But he was going to get that money as a back. He made that money as a backup this year. So, no, I disagree. I think if we're a mid-tier.
Wasn't even a backup.
Like if Cincinnati, let's say Cincinnati shocked the world and had a Quinn Ewers. And Quinn Ewers said, you know what, Cincinnati, it's been real, but I'm gonna go to Texas. Cincinnati would be devastated. Cincinnati would be crushed. Ohio State's not crushed from losing Ewers. You're going to get a lock of great players at every position, and you're not going to keep all of them. Great players will leave. Look at the wide receiver at Alabama. That was a gut punch that Ohio State lost him, right? Kinda, not really. Ohio State still the best receiving core in college football. Quarterback would have won a Heisman if they beat Michigan, most likely. So I just don't see Quinn Ewers leaving as a problem for Ohio State.
No.
I mean, maybe not even an ego punch. It is what it is. Like, that's just
it's not as big as a deal as a lot of people make it out to be, and neither is the Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow graduated from Ohio State and was a grad transfer, had 2 years to play. So,
and he wasn't even good that first year he transferred.
Yeah, so look at how Dwayne Haskins played his first year as a starter, and look how Joe Burrow played his first year as a starter. Yes, granted, that second year for Joe Burrow was outstanding, and he's the first pick in the NFL draft, and more power to him. But the whole Jamison Williams thing, he was going to get passed on the depth chart. He was third. He was a third receiver on the depth chart. He was about to be the fourth receiver on the depth chart. Jackson Smith and Jigba was taking his spot. That's why he transferred. And at Alabama, where they run a lot of 2 receiver sets and force feed, the 1 and 2 guy, which is perfectly fine. He put up some great numbers and he balled out of control and he took a lot of deep shots. He didn't run a calculated route tree. Like, it was really a lot of post and go routes because he's really fast. Yep. So, I mean, more power to him. He's going to be going in the first round of the NFL draft. Sounds like it was a great decision for him. You know what I'm saying? So more power to him. But how much more explosive do you think the Ohio State offense was going to be with him there? Like, it couldn't, because there's only a fine amount of time you're going to have the ball.
Unless he could have stopped Michigan's run game.
He doesn't play linebacker, doesn't play safety. There was no problem with the Ohio State offense. And guess what? He would have been probably leaving after this upcoming year anyway. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, oh man, he's coming back too. No, he wasn't going to be there. So him leaving, really not a big deal. The big schools, I don't really think is going to really affect him all like that.
So on Facebook, Mark Smith, he says, Kinner, he's mad now, in all capital letters, Ewers is going to be a problem because of the fallout from it. Mark, what fallout? What are you talking about? Georgia lost Justin. Oh, you're talking about recruiting? Are you talking about the perception of the program? People poked fun at Georgia for sticking with their quarterback over Justin Fields, but there was no fallout for Georgia. Georgia's continued to bring in top recruiting class after top recruiting class. Georgia has continued to be a contender in the college football playoff. Georgia has continued to do all of those things, even without Justin Fields, and they haven't missed a beat. In 2018, Georgia had the number 1 recruiting class. 2019, they had this number 2 recruiting class. In 2020, they had the number 1 recruiting class. They had the 4th recruiting class last year, and they finished with the 3rd best recruiting class this year. They had no fallout from not having Justin Fields. Ohio State will have 0 fallout from not having Quinn Ewers. Kev, what do you think he means? What fallout could there be from losing Quinn Ewers? I don't think it's had one impact on the program whatsoever.
You know why it's not a big problem? Because there is going to be big-time recruits leaving all programs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not egg on Ohio State's face. Every big time school is going to have a 5-star dude that leaves, that's a backup and says like, well, I want to play. I can go to a lesser team and start right off the bat and ball out of control. Like, that's going to happen to that's been happening to every single program. We just talked about it. Ford, the running back at UC, he couldn't get on the field at Alabama. Shows up at UC, rushes for 1,600 yards. Oh, wow, he's the best player on the offense. Imagine that. Like, it really ain't that hard. Like, I don't understand why people are so bent out of shape about this. Like, CJ Stroud was out here like I was playing quarterback or something. Like remember Joe Bowserman? Remember that? Remember those days? We don't have none of them dudes on the roster.
Yep.
Those dudes like Joe Bowserman started football games for the Buckeyes. We don't have any of those. And as good as Todd Beckman led us to a national championship appearance against LSU, there ain't no Todd Beckmans on the rooster either. So I don't know what people are talking about. Like, I mean, like, people are buying into what they read and everything like that. So not to try to bash Quinn Ewers, but here's some perspective. He's only played 1 full season of varsity high school football.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in, man. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. This ain't basketball, man. This is not basketball where, oh, man, this dude's got a crazy jumper. He hits him from every angle. He's a all AAU, All-American, yada, yada, yada. He played a ton of 7-on-7 because he's really talented. But goodness gracious, you just saw CJ Stroud put up numbers equivalent to Justin Fields.
They didn't miss a beat.
I don't get where people are talking about. What do you want them to
Justin
do?
Fields and don't miss a beat. Do you know there's only one other program that's been able to replicate that, and that is Alabama. There's only 2 programs in this country, 3 with Clemson, although they did take a step back with DJ Uiagalelei this year after Trevor Lawrence. But last year you didn't anticipate that because he looked great. He threw for that loss against Notre Dame. He threw for 400+ yards and 5 touchdowns. He wasn't the problem in that game, but that's not the point. Like, there's only a handful of programs that can lose a Trevor Lawrence, that can lose a Tua and a Mac Jones, and then replace it with the Heisman winning quarterback. You lose Justin Fields and replace it with the Heisman candidate quarterback in CJ Stroud. And again, they beat Michigan, and he threw for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. They beat Michigan. He's your Heisman winner, most likely. So at the end of the day, these programs aren't being impacted by losing. Even when these quarterbacks graduate and move on, there's someone just as good, if not better, ready to replace them. And
you hit it right there on the head. You hit it right there on the head. Like, eventually these dudes do graduate. This ain't the NFL where you could just keep signing contracts. You only can stay in school X amount of years. And I really think it's pretty disrespectful to Coach Day to think that he's not smart enough to get more talent into the program. You really don't think he can recruit another quarterback or scheme up
Devin
things?
Brown ring a bell.
Yeah, he just signed and everything like that. There's other 5-star dudes that's already on the roster and everything like that. Ohio State will be perfectly fine. It will be perfectly fine. Yes, Quinn Ewers is a supremely talented kid who played 1 year of varsity high school football.
Yeah, and by the way, there's no fallout from losing Quinn Ewers, because you want to know if Quinn Ewers is the quarterback. I'm not saying it hurts anything. That's great, but future recruits are like, well, I can't go there. If Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback for the next 3 years, I don't want to go to Ohio State. I want to go somewhere else where they're entering the senior year of a quarterback that I would just have to sit behind for 1 year. Quinn would have 2 more years. That would CJ Stroud being the quarterback next year actually helps Ohio State recruiting, because now there's going to be more like Devin that's going to come in and say, okay, I just got to sit out, I'll be the backup or 3rd string next year and have a chance to compete for the job in 2023. So no, I just don't get this mindset of, oh my gosh, they're going to be impacted by it. Alex Sheets, shout out to Alex. He says, clearly not a problem. We landed Devin Brown. Exactly. Like there's no fallout from losing Quinn Ewers. Not at all.
This is crazy. So he played 14 games as a sophomore. Quinn Ewers
in high school.
Yeah.
Obviously,
So 14 games as a sophomore, 8 games as a junior. So he got 2 years of high school football. But look at these numbers. I'm not a stat dude, but goodness gracious, he completed over 70% of his passes, 6,445 yards, 73 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. And that's in a year and a half. So maybe I understand why people are like, whoa, this dude's going to be the next thing. Like, those numbers are insane. No doubt about it. But people are acting like CJ Stroud is a bum. They're acting like I'm out there throwing passes. No,
it's because
I'm not.
The build for Ewers was a million times different than Stroud was the guy that had to replace Justin Fields. And I don't think anyone ever gave Stroud a fair shot.
No.
Because he was next. I mean, even in Alabama, no one appreciated Mac Jones at Alabama until late in that season. It took an entire season before Bama fans were like, oh, this dude's like, he's legitimate, because you only got 1 year of him.
Right.
You only got 1 year. Ohio State didn't really get to fully appreciate Haskins because you only got 1 year of him. If you got that production that Haskins gave that 1 year, if you got 2 years of that, Kev, Haskins is an all-time great at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But we'll never truly appreciate Haskins because he only got 1 year. Bama will never truly, although Mac Jones got him a championship, yes. But like not getting that 2 years, like we at least got 2 years of Justin Fields.
Right.
We're going to get 2 years of CJ Stroud. We got, I guess, 1 year of Quinn Ewers, and it was 2 handoffs. But by the way, people got mad at him too, saying that he used Ohio State. Let's not forget this.
They're using each other.
They're using each other. No one got used in that. Like it was a friends with benefits situation. Both got pleasure out of it, and you move on and you meet other people and you're happy. That's what exactly Ohio State and Quinn Ewers was. Not to make that very weird and creepy, but it is what it is. He committed to Ohio. Like people are like, oh, he only did that because of the name, image, and likeness. He committed to Ohio State. By the way, name, image, and the NIL, we always knew it was a possibility at some point in the near future. It could have been passed. But at no point did we think it would be that quickly. I mean, no one knew. I mean, with everything going on in this world, no one thought literally last year. It was within a month that it got done. So Quinn Ewers had committed to Ohio State. He decommitted from Texas, committed to Ohio State well before he even knew about name, image, and likeness being a possibility at this time. When that changed, his mindset changed. And why risk playing during a COVID year in high school that could potentially happen or not happen? Okay, now it's like, what happened? Okay, well, at the time, you kind of didn't know.
Right.
So why risk playing your final year in high school and risk something happening? Maybe I'll get 1 or 2 games. Forget it. I'm going to go to Ohio State. One of the best offensive young minds in all of college football, play for Ryan Day. Even if I don't start or play, think of all the knowledge. He learned more being the 4th string quarterback at Ohio State than, honestly, he was going to gain experience-wise playing high school football.
Working with Coach Mick.
Yeah. So Texas, we'll take credit for him whenever he gets there and succeeds, right? But you see what I'm saying? I don't think he took advantage of anything. I think he took advantage of the opportunity, not so much Ohio State. Like
absolutely. And another thing, think about it like this. He committed to Texas under Tom Herman, and ultimately he still ended up at Texas. Tom Herman was fired because he decommitted from Texas, but he still ended up at Texas. That Tom Herman got to be like, man, what do I got to do? What do I got to do, man? I did want to touch
Herman was getting good recruiting classes, too, by the way. I'm sorry. I did mean to get
I did want to touch on this real quick. So, obviously, everybody knows I'm a Florida State fan as well as a Buckeye fan. Travis Hunter, the number 1 or 2 recruit in all of college football, decommitted from Florida State, went to Jackson State with Deion Sanders. Look, this is going to sound a little crazy, but check this out. He decommitted from Florida State. But think about it like this. He turned down Georgia as well because he was being recruited by Georgia. Obviously, he turned down Florida State, turned down Alabama, and he turned down Georgia Tech as well. So, yes, the stink is on Florida State because he was committed to Florida State for over 2 years. The stink is on them. But he just didn't only turn down Florida State. He turned down every other school as well to go to Jackson State. The other thing about it is Florida State was 5-7 last year. And for them to come up with the number 12 recruiting class after missing out on the 1 or 2 recruit in the entire country, I would say that's a tremendous job because they were able to secure so many other prospects. Obviously.
Do you think they got him because of that, though?
That is exactly where I was going. That's exactly where I was going because he was. I would tell Florida State and Florida State fans that you're lucky he didn't decommit earlier. Because if he decommitted earlier, you lose out on a lot of these dudes that ultimately sign. He was supposed to sign at 9 a.m. He pushed it back to 1, 2 o'clock. So everybody else that was supposed to sign, that they expected to sign. Yeah, some dude, Marvin Jones Jr., one of the legacy guys, end up going to Georgia and everything like that. But a lot of the guys that they expected to sign ultimately signed with them. And he was like the lead guy in that. He was trying to get dudes to come to Florida State. I remember watching an interview with him. He's like, we going platinum at Florida State. And Florida State's whole signing day thing was like, we going platinum. They got that from the kid. He was the bell cow for the recruiting class. So without him being committed to Florida State as long as he was, you're not getting those dudes after going 5-7. So I know Florida State fans are mad at the kid for allegedly going to Jackson State to get the bag and yada, yada, yada. Deion Sanders, alum, laughing and everything like that. But big picture wise, you're lucky he didn't decommit way earlier because these dudes that you got, I mean, I ain't never seen them play, but according to the people that tell you that they're good, these dudes are good. So if 5-7 and get the number 12 recruiting class without the number 1 prospect in the country, I think they did good. Yes, the egg is on their face. They're going to have to wear that because a kid was committed to you for so long. But think about if it was the other way. Think about if he would have decommitted back during the season when you started the season 0-4. All those other dudes that were committed to you along with him, they're going to decommit to and go elsewhere. So ultimately, I think they're in a good spot because of that. So I know it's off the wall. I know it's a little different, a different viewpoint. And I know this is Ohio. We don't really care about what's going on at Florida State. But I do want people to think about it from that perspective to say, like, if he's not committed to y'all, you're not getting this 5-star DB. Mm-hmm. Y'all not getting one of his best friends to come there. They're going to go elsewhere because you're 5-7. So you kind of need to send him a bag and say thank you.
Mark Smith, by the way, he goes, he did use us. We got a hand off. We got a handoff out of the mullet. He didn't use anybody. Like, he didn't use. And by the way, if CJ Stroud would not have worked out this year, Quinn Ewers is your starter next year, and he's probably not transferring out. So, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So what do you want the kid to do?
He did nothing wrong.
What do you want the young man to do?
Kev knows me. 3 years ago, I would have been like, man, who's this Quinn Ewers kid? Who the hell does he think he is? He did nothing wrong.
I'm not sure what people want him to do. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the whole coming to Ohio State early, mainly not because I don't think it's just right, but I just thought, like, man, you starting the clock early, like, this isn't going to work out the way you think, and you're going to end up transferring because if Coach Day is Coach Day and who we think he is, offense is going to hum, and the offense hummed, and you're not going to get on the field.
That's the difference. You talked about the bell cow at Florida State, with Hunter. People were going there because he was the guy that was gravitating. That guy's Ryan Day at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And that's why Ewers forwent his final year of high school, because he's like, again, I could play my final year of high school. I'm still not going to gain as much. I'm still not going to learn as much or gain as much experience starting a full high school football season in the state of Texas, being a 4th-string quarterback at Ohio State under Ryan Day's system, just picking the knowledge of everyone around him. He learned more in that year than any experience he could have got playing at Tech. Does it mean that he's not going to have, some bumps in the road by not playing? Right. No, but like, he's going to be mentally a step ahead, the most incoming freshman, and way more a step ahead next year at Texas than what he would have been there, as far as I'm concerned. The Jackson State thing real quick, as far as that's concerned with prime time. We only have actually we're out of time, but I want to close out with this, because this comment, like, I know when you're dealing with HBCUs, if you have an opinion against it, perception is, oh, well, what do you have with HBCUs? Oh, you have a problem with people going to HBCUs? No, but I wanted to read this here from Doug Gottlieb. Doug Gottlieb got a ton of crap. I understood what Doug Gottlieb said, because if you listen to Doug Gottlieb's show, people like, this is why I'm always afraid of Twitter. he put something on Twitter that sounds a little weird, but if you listen to him on his radio show, he was saying it wasn't an HBCU thing. I would have said the same thing if he would have gone to Ohio or a MAC school or a smaller school. So he tweets out that HBCU, and this is probably because he labeled HBCU football doesn't have close to the same support athletically, academically, medically, and they play an inferior schedule with inferior teammates. In addition, of football ends, any person prefer to be a Georgia, Florida State, whatever alum for help in the workforce. So I read it. To be fair to him, I know people that go to HBCUs that say the exact same thing he does. But the only way to build that up is to get actually, this is a non-traditional way of building that up because this isn't common. And I don't think it's going to be common moving forward unless he sticks it out his full career there, whether it's for Deion or leaves if Deion leaves or whatever the scenario is. I know when you read that in our time that we live in now, I got uncomfortable. I'm like, but I don't think he said anything wrong. And that's not a shot at HBCUs. That's the reality of it. They don't have the finances. They don't have the resources. They don't have
they're governmentally funded.
So that's not a shot at HBCUs. That's honestly the reality of it. Now, Doug Gottlieb brought that tweet up on his show because I was curious what he had. I wanted to hear that's why Twitter annoys me, because a tweet, you could frame it however you want. But he said, I said HBCU, but it wasn't just about HBCUs. I would be saying the same thing if he would have gone to a MAC school or what have you, because he got in trouble for tweeting out that everyone's celebrating a kid making a mistake. That I didn't like that tweet.
Right.
That tweet I didn't like. But it's also stemming from the kid said, I had a bigger calling here and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I don't necessarily want to say I believe that just because you got $1.5 million to go there. You're playing for prime time and all that. That's super. But like just say, I want players to just come out and say money. I went here because of money. I respect that. But don't tell me that you actually thought going to a school that has less money, less resources, less talent around you, less talent that you'll be going up against. Don't say that is a better path to get you to the NFL. It can get you there, but you're picking a harder path. But I don't know. I'm always weird because of the world we live in. Because we're talking about HBCUs, people like to spin it and say you're bad-mouthing an HBCU, so you're racist. I hate that. I don't think that's fair at all because it's not really a perception thing. The reality is HBCUs lack resources, lack money, lack facilities, lack everything. But again, everyone gets uncomfortable talking about
the where he messed up. If he replaces HBCUs with FCS schools.
Yep, like a Dayton. If he went to Dayton, I'd say the same thing about that as well. I'd be like, well, that's kind of a weird way to go. Adam Troutman got to the NFL, but he could have got noticed a lot easier elsewhere probably or been drafted higher. Finish your point.
If he put in FCS schools, because that's what they are, that's the playoffs that they would go to if they qualify and everything like that. And he's right. HBCUs are underfunded. And everything like that. They're funded from the government and yada, 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 all that type of stuff. Don't need to go into deep detail about it. But where he messes up is the last comment. It comes across as you're buying into the rhetoric that HBCUs are less than and everything like that. And if you know anything about HBCUs, the reason why they were created because, Black people weren't allowed to go to, quote unquote, regular college and everything like that. So what Deion has been saying and pushing his whole time at Jackson State is we're going to bring this back because there are a ton of guys that made it to the NFL and made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame that came out of HBCUs. The fact that Jackson State has more Pro Football Hall of Famers than Ole Miss and Mississippi State combined, like that is a selling point. We got Central State right in our backyard. Hugh Douglas went there. Eric Williams went there, played on the offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys, who helped Emmitt Smith be the all-time rushing leader. So presenting a different avenue for players to say, like, well, that the Power Five ain't the only way that you can get to the NFL and everything like that. And obviously, I said, whatever he got, whatever Travis Hunter is getting, I'm going to say that's 80% of it. I'm going to say 10% is playing for Deion, and I'll give him 10% his own calling. But I'm going to go with most of this is because you got $1.5 million. And ain't nothing wrong with it. My nephew, if he got offered $1.5 million to go play at whatever state university, he asked Uncle Kev opinion, $1.5 million go a long way.
By the way, You give me $1.5 million, I'll go wherever the hell you tell me. This wasn't a shot at HBCUs on my part, but the reason I said that, don't tell me it was a calling, because if you look at the list of schools you were looking at, a calling, Clemson, Auburn, Alabama, Florida State, Jackson State, with $1.5 million, it's fine. Just say $1.5 million, and that's not a shot at HBCUs. It's just the reality. Like, this could be the start of something great for HBCUs. But we also spend a lot of time saying we also spend a lot of time talking about college football playoff. If you're not in that, you're not playing for anything. Look at Pickett and all these guys. They're not in the playoff. They don't care. They're not playing. So it's not a shot at HBCUs. It's like, man, if you're not in the college football playoff, nothing matters.
But the FCS has their own playoff.
But the build for that is what, like, no offense, like as a regular just football fan, I'm not saying I can't wait to watch the FBS playoffs. If Dayton was the FBS champion, I'd be like, cool.
Right.
Is that even real football? Like, that's not a shot. I promise, folks, relax. I'm talking in regards to the perception that people have of those things. And it's not HBCU related. But again, some people do have undertones of how they view HBCUs, which is not okay. For me, I could say, well, no, my opinion is just based on if you're not Ohio State, you ain't.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
fair,
it's the wording and it's Twitter, and there's only so many characters on there. He could have said Power 5, and let's not act like when you go to certain job interviews and everything like that. My brother is a graduate of Central State, and he told me about some of the job interviews that he's went on and everything like that. They question his education at a HBCU. You know, so the perception is if you don't go to one of these other institutions of higher learning, your education is less than. So it's something that you do have to battle. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with people trying to change that stigma. And we talked about this before about Deion Sanders. I truly do believe that he believes he has a different calling to say, like, he wants to bring HBCUs back to prominence and everything like that. And I commend him. And another thing we talked about is a product. They're giving them $1.5 million, but they're also producing a product. This isn't, here's some money to post something on Instagram about my coffee and we give you $1 million. Okay, Travis Hunter, we're going to give you $1.5 million, but you're about to be on this TV show. We're going to make a product, and we're going to not only pay you, but we're going to make money off of you. We're talking about Barstool in this alleged
that's
TV
better
show.
Than just
hey,
I'm at my local coffee
exactly.
Shop.
That's why I called the dudes that were just dishing out money left and right, groupies, because what are you getting in return? They're getting something in return. They be like, all right, we're gonna give you the money, but you're gonna work for it.
And take.
Yeah.
Last thing, because we do got to go. I literally have less than 30 seconds here on that.
We got Sean.
This is where it's not a shot at the HBCUs. This would be my take if they were going to Dayton or any school. It's like, you got to really pay attention to, okay, what do you want to accomplish? Because are you willing to take a big boatload of money, $1.5 million up front to go to the HBCU school? More power to you. Not judging that at all. But at the same time, you have players skipping bowl games because that one game that means nothing to them. Well, what if I get hurt and I miss out on millions?
Right.
Well, is your $1.5 million up front, is that worth taking a much harder path to get to the NFL? Because you can get to the NFL from there, but there's not a blueprint way. Like a lot of those guys, like when they committed to HBCU school, it's not like, future NFL star commits to HBCU. That's what this is.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you are taking a chance going to a place that may or may not get you where you want to go. But Deion's putting eyes on this thing that not a lot of eyes normally would be. So that's what's different about this. I'm sorry. I wish we had more time on this. We'll do this again on Monday. And then Kev goes on a long vacation. Have a good night, folks. Have a great weekend. Until next week, it's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and, of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad Mays a call today, 937-572-7425. Shaw still on hold. That's his last punishment of the week. We had to kind of mend fences earlier. He drives me nuts. I drive him nuts. But, Shaw, you're out of phone hold timeouts starting next week. So you happy? Have a great weekend. Shaw and everybody.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM.
Skyline gift cards make great last-minute gifts. Now through Christmas Eve, you'll get a free $5 gift certificate when you buy $30 in Skyline gift cards at participating Skyline restaurants. See store for details. Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Winter is here, and Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with seasonal refreshments and holiday beers, and they're going fast, just in time for your favorite sporting events. Rob's Beer Barn also has you covered for your holiday plans. At Rob's, you'll find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need: craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wine, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's Beer Barn has apparel. For last-minute items, you can call, walk in, or drive through. Stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ribble Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn. Just look for the Beaver.
Missing classes, dropping grades, changes in personality, these can all be signs of youth gambling. Learn how to recognize the warning signs for youth gambling at changethegameohio.org. With high schoolers having twice the rate of gambling problems as adults, it's essential to have a conversation with the teen in your life about the risks of gambling. ChangeTheGameOhio.org has free resources for parents and educators to help prevent youth gambling. This message is brought to you by Ohio for Responsible Gambling.
Give the gift of a date